The manhwa starts with a guy live streaming, saying that this is all for real. The chat is going crazy saying it's like a movie, and the man turns his camera and points toward a giant monster. The chatters are asking if it's real, since it's not even on the news. A man drops his phone and runs over to his balcony. His face is both scared yet curious. As he looks up, we see a figure in his eye. As there is a giant ominous form clasping its hands together. As if it were praying, the man falls backwards, saying if he were to explain how it got to this point, he would have to take us back to the beginning. It was 3 years ago, just as he started high school. He's walking down the hallway to his classroom, which is class 3 of the first years. As soon as he enters, we see someone asleep, while the rest all turn to look at him, but quickly turn back to the front after seeing who it was. The man says the atmosphere is awkward as hell, and he wonders if he should sit in the corner. He picks a seat and sighs, saying this is overwhelming, but as overwhelmed as he felt, he bet there were a lot of mixed emotions in the classroom. Some might have been nervous about the unfamiliar environment, while others just had zero care in the world. Others would be investing in their future. Some would be watching MANHUA recaps on YouTube. Others are still late, but none of them would be as confused. We see a window appear in front of the man. He rubs his eye and does a double take. But it's still there. The window welcomes him to the school and says he needs to give the ghost's hands to get special abilities. Also, there's a demon king apparently. The man wonders if he's been playing too many games. An announcement comes over the intercom, saying there's a blackout on campus, so the electricity is limited. Due to this, the entrance ceremony will be taking place in the courtyard. Some of the students in his class stand up, saying that's a pain in the ass. But none of them seem to notice the window in front of him, and he wonders if nobody else can see it. As they all start walking down the hallway, he says that it's definitely a status window. He says that there was a study done that shows 80 of men see status windows, but of course he just made that shit up. He starts to nervously scratch the back of his neck and says he's gone crazy on his first day of school. He makes his to the courtyard and looks at it, saying it still isn't disappearing, but he wonders what the hell it's even talking about, mentioning mysteries, urban legends, and even ghost stories. He doesn't even like those things. He sees there's an option for a second page and stretches his hand out to the window. But someone yells at him, which startles him and tells him to line up properly. He decides that he should focus on the ceremony first and wonders if he can get rid of the window. And just like that, it disappears. The principal or headmaster gets up on the mic and starts freestyling for them, but doesn't hit his mark. He gets mid-sentence and his head starts to rapidly swell up until he pops like a zit. The students are speechless. Even one of the professors say nothing, as the principal's think tank juice is splattered onto the ceiling and on the floor. The main character just sits there confused and asks what the hell just happened to that guy. One of the teachers go up to check on him and peers over the railing, completely mortified to see that the principal is missing his head. She starts yelling for someone to call 911, but as she goes to dial it, she slowly starts to forget the number, and her head along with some others begin to swell up and they pop like zits too. The students scream and start running, saying they need to get out of here. A teacher tries to calm them down, saying they need to wait, but he begins to swell up, and a lot of the other students also just have their heads exploded. The main character sees all of this happening just right behind him and starts to run, saying he doesn't want to be next. He starts to think about where to go. Some of the other students make it to the front gate, but realize that it is an opening. The man sees the others aren't able to get out, and with the others behind him having their heads exploding, he thinks about going over the wall but sees other students pulling each other down in pure panic. He says the front gate and walls are too crowded, and he won't be able to get out if he gets stuck in their mass hysteria. So he starts to think of another way out. We see a side door open up, and the security guard comes out asking what's going on. He sees everyone running for their lives, and the mob trying to climb the school wall, and he yells, telling them it's too dangerous. Some nearby students run up to him asking for him to open the damn gate. He asks if they are crazy, and out of fear they turn aggressive, asking him to open the gate and start mobbing him. The main character, who still has no name, asks why he's so intent on keeping it closed, even when he can see something is wrong. But thanks to the students getting distracted, there's more room on the wall now. With the exploders getting closer and closer, he realizes he doesn't want to win the Darwin Award and starts running. He makes his way to the wall and leaps up, grabbing onto the railing. A student grabs his leg, saying not to leave him behind, and he kicks him, saying get the hell away. He cuts his hand on the pointy part of the railing and jumps over the wall. He says Fate's will is like a ghost, it shows up unannounced, disrupting daily life, and that he didn't know then that he was already infected. His vision begins to grow darker as his head inevitably pops. A window appears, saying he died, and will restart at a previous checkpoint, then starts to load him in. He wakes up screaming, inside of the classroom, and yells about his head, but looks down to see the window appearing again, welcoming him. The other students look over, wondering what flavor of mental illness he has. They start to think that he's trolling or something, and laugh, saying he is an interesting one for day one, but the man is just confused, as he is back in the classroom with the same students as before. He wonders if he was dreaming or something, but says it felt too real to have been a dream. He starts to feel sick to his stomach thinking about it and wonders if he really went back in time. He says that dying once and returning to the past, and just the whole situation seems so game-like. The intercom cuts on again, and repeats the announcement of the blackout, and again tells them all to return to the courtyard. He starts to clench his head, saying that this shit is definitely real, and thinks about how to change the outcome. He says the secret must lie in the status window. Thankfully it starts to narrate for us. Unfortunately bro caught astray from it, but it says that it's his first day of the next 3 years in school. For anyone else they'd be excited, but for him that isn't the case, since he realized that this school is definitely not ordinary. And he has an ominous feeling that there will be more bizarre things to happen, but it's the first day of a long 3 years ahead of him. He sees the window mentioning a tutorial saying to make 3 friends and start a club, and he'll be given 10 ghost story points. He says he thought it was very game-like. The difference is that the pain he felt from exploding definitely wasn't virtual. He wonders what he should do, saying their teacher forced them to the courtyard again. He wonders if it'll happen again, or if he's really just losing his mind. He starts to get too caught up in if it's real or not, and glances back at the wall he leapt over, saying since he's at the back of the crowd, he can leave hella quick if it repeats, and that he will run at the first sight of danger. The principal starts his monologue, saying he's so happy to have them attending, but just like last time his head explodes. While his blood flows through the air, the main character quickly turns and starts running, leaving the rest stun-locked while they wait for what's next. He says he needs to get through the gate somehow. Before the others crowd it, he turns and sees them right on his ass, saying they are quick. He has an idea, and yells to get the security guard's attention. He comes out of his office asking what the yelling's about. The main character points at him, and yells, telling the rest he has the key and they need it to open the main gate. The security guard freezes up as the crowd begins to rush him, asking for the key. Now that his plan has worked, it's time to get a move on while they are distracted. Instead of climbing the wall, he opts to just climb over the gate. He lands on the other side. He doesn't stick the landing and says he can't think he's safe as he died here last time. He starts to run down the street to get as far away as he can from the school. But he falls over and loses consciousness. He wakes up inside of the hospital, and when he opens his eyes, he sees dudes in hazmat suits. They dubbed it the Naksong High School 300-person head explosion incident. The government assumed it was an infectious disease, and he was one of the few survivors. His parents burst into the room worried about him, and he seemed relieved to see them. They hug one another, and he says it took 10 days for him to be able to see them. After being pestered by the media and police for a long time, he returned to a normal life. But the status window is still there. He wonders what it really means, and now he is back inside of his room at home / just staring at it, and we finally hear his mother calling his name. She tells June that tomorrow is his graduation, so to sleep early. He sighs and goes to close the window. We learn it's been 3 years since the incident, and the window still haunts him to this day. He goes to cut his light off, and says he tried to avoid it since he made friends and joined clubs, but nothing happened. He thinks that it's truly just a hallucination. Just as the clock strikes midnight, the window says graduation day has arrived, and that the Demon King has been resurrected. He hears an emergency alert on his phone, which wakes up him. We see people all over the city looking up into the sky and wonder what's going on. Now the start of the manhwa makes more sense, as the giant monster has appeared, which of course now we know is the Demon King. June says it's definitely near the school, which was closed off, and he falls to the floor again, saying that the status window is real. At that moment he felt a chilling gaze, and says it felt like he was making eye contact with it. His body starts to shut down as he starts to lose his sense of being and is left with nothing but psychosis. As he died in a way he couldn't comprehend, he obtains a bad ending due to turning a blind eye. The window says starting regression, and reloads his previous safe. He jolts awake in his school uniform, and looks down again to see the same familiar window, along with the intercom going off while the students complain like usual. We see the one worrying about his future looking around the room, then returns to being an NPC. June starts to shake in fear, saying it started again. He thought he got over it, and that he became numb to the topic. But he still remembers it like it was yesterday. The door opens with his teacher asking why they aren't going outside. He says that she rushed them out last time too. She tells them to stand up, and to wake up the girl in the back of the room. One of the girls looks at her and gets too nervous, and the glasses boy also seems too afraid. June wonders why they aren't waking her up. When the teacher asks them to, June turns around to see her, and sighs saying okay. Then says that the other two are the herbivore types, and that the sleeping girl is closer to a carnivore, at least based on how they are dressed. He says they must be afraid, but he stands up saying he just got back from living 3 years. So to him, being older mentally, it feels like a ridiculous concern, but he decides to showcase what being mature is like, so reaches out to the girl and straight stutters for 5 minutes trying to a sentence. The herbivores realize they sent one of their own kind to be slaughtered. The girl doesn't even acknowledge him, and June says he tried to pretend like he wasn't a girlfriendless loser, but he can't even talk to women. She starts to raise her head and looks up, glaring at June, who is intimidated by women. She scoots her chair back and gets up and walks out. June says he thought she was gonna hit him. Their homeroom teacher looks through the windows as they pass down the hallway, saying that the other classes have already gone outside. June starts to wonder about what to do. He says he remembers it from 3 years ago, and if it keeps going like this, it'll be the same as always. So he needs to change something. He calls out to his teacher and says it might be tough for him to stand in the courtyard since he's anemic. She says it doesn't look like he is anemic since he isn't that thin. He tells her that it's not related to weight. She thinks about it, and he can see that she doesn't seem uncertain. He tries to convince her by saying that if he collapses, his parents would make a big deal about it. The teacher thinks about how that'd be an issue. She tells him that she'll take him to the infirmary. They head over to it, and after she leaves, he peers his head down the hallway and says she's finally gone. He closes the door, saying he's already died twice, and that he doesn't want there to be a third. He says if things were structured like a game, there'd be a clue in his classroom for sure, and that it wouldn't be too strange. He opens the door and is surprised to see the herbivores from earlier. He asks what they are doing here. The girl awkwardly tries to explain it, and she says that when the teacher left, the red jacket girl walked back to the room, so they followed her. June tells them they are more daring than he thought. The glasses kid clears his throat and says that he's no different, then asks how his anemia is. June quickly tells him that it was a lie, and that aside they seem to be accomplices now. He says they should gather and talk about something. June thinks how it's better this way, and it'd be pointless to figure it out on his own, but if he talks he can find something out. He introduces himself to them as Lee June. We learn Glasses is named on Jaeyoung-won. The other herbivore is named Yoon Suna. June says bro's name is legit Glasses in Korean, well call him John. He says they weren't leaving the class either and asks why. Yuna says that she's smooth-brained. The window says that his understanding of Suna has increased by 5. June says it's yet another game system, and John says he didn't leave after remembering a ghost story about the school announcement. June asks what it is. John says it's a blackout, which is a pretty famous ghost story. June says the term ghost story is brought up in the window too. June asks him to tell more about the ghost story. John says that one day there was a blackout at school during the evening class. The sudden darkness startled the student, but there was a broadcast that followed, which told them to go to the courtyard while others walked out. The top student in the class stayed behind. Seeing this, the second-rank students asked the top student why she wasn't leaving, and asks if she has to study even now to become a top student. The top student slowly answered, asking if they hadn't noticed, asking how they can broadcast during a blackout. June and Suna are confused, and ask if that's all there was to it. John asks if he's heard it before. June says it sounds semi-familiar, asking if there's more to John says there's a few variations, but that's how ghost stories actually are. For example, there's a story that they looked out to see a blood-filled courtyard. June quickly asks him if they survived, and John replies saying it's safe to assume that, but says it's not a real story, so why is he so invested into it? June says that's true, but he stayed behind because he took the story seriously, right? John says it did bother him a bit, and that they wouldn't be able to use the intercom during a blackout, so he thought he'd just sit in the classroom again, then says maybe they were still able to do the broadcast due to the backup system. June says he seems excited, and he's the type of guy to show how smart he is. His understanding of him increases by 20. He opens the status window up again and looks at it, and double-checks that it mentions ghost stories, and he says that he needs to figure out the relation. Suna chimes in, saying that she thought it was an interesting story. He's surprised she spoke up, and he says she mentioned she was a bit slow, but didn't expect it to be so extreme, and then he realizes that it must have looked like he was staring at her. He apologizes, and then the principal starts to talk. A cold chill runs down June's spine, as the principal slowly gets to the point where his head explodes. June closes his eyes in anticipation, but the principal continues the speech like normal. June is caught off guard. June realizes that he's survived, and a window appears saying that he's come across the broadcast ghost story and earned 5 GS points. June stretches over the desk and sighs loudly, purely out of relief. Jian jumps a bit and asks what's wrong and if something happened to him. June just laughs at it and says he wouldn't believe him even if he told him. For some reason it clears the tutorial, or maybe I'm misunderstanding the windows. But he earns 10 GS and unlocks a status window. The entrance ceremony is finally coming to an end, and he looks at his status window to show his disposition and his quirk, along with an inventory slot. I think June is surprised by all of the info and says it's really feeling like a game with stats and stuff. He taps on his disposition to read more. It tells us a whole lot of info that I ain't reading. Feel free to if want to. But he summarizes it, saying that he's inconsistent and whimsical depending on the situation. He realizes he's a complete wuss. It says he has an iffy personality, and the only positive thing about him is his ability to think his way out of situations. He wonders why he caught a stray, and says that it's honestly an annoyingly understandable explanation. He's been the type of person to get more than halfway through things, but never see it through to the end. And he wonders if it's from the disposition. He says it's like the window knew more about him than he did himself, and he wonders if he can use it on others too. He looks at Jian and opens his status window. And it opens up his window, but has some of it as question marks. He's a bit of a wiki warrior. June says he's just as he thought he was. He wonders about Sana and opens her thing, but sees that it's all question marked, and that she acts slow. He sees that she is only 16 and decides to try asking her about it next time. He received way less info on her, and says it must be due to the understanding level being too low. He wonders about the delinquent girl and opens it. We learn her name is Lee Jin-hee, and she also has no information. He has an understanding of 0. He says he didn't expect much to be here, but it's quite odd how it knew info about him he didn't even know, and that it knows everyone's names and ages when he's never asked for some of it, and that the status window can see way beyond his perception. He closes his eyes and starts to recap how for some reason unknown ghost stories are happening in real life. There's a game-like system only he can see, and just like in a game, if he dies he can respawn. He's not sure what the purpose is for the GS points either. It said he cleared the quest to make 3 friends as well. The 2 of them should be Jiyeon and Sana, but maybe Jin he counted 2. He wonders why she's counted, saying that is absurd, and he thinks about how when a delinquent says the word friend it's usually always dangerous, so he should look out for it. We are then introduced to his teacher Damon, who tells them all to read through the handouts carefully. He wonders why his teacher's name is just teacher in Korean. He glances at the paper and says most of it is just common sense. But his head hurts, so he really doesn't want to read anything. But some of the students who are reading it are a bit concerned about what it says. An announcement comes over from the broadcast. They received that they were printed incorrectly, and they'll be coming back to retrieve the handouts. His teacher, out of breath, comes back into the room, saying there's a mistake in the handouts. He tells them all that the students in the back should collect them all and hand them to him. June looks back at them wondering if there's something odd about them. Someone quickly takes it back before he can read it. June says that was hella fast, but says it's whatever since he can just ask Jiyeon or Sana about it. Jiyeon tells him that he didn't bother reading it. June is speechless about this, but Sana chirps up saying that she actually read the handouts. June asks her what the mistake was. She says that it was worded correctly. It just had something odd. June and Jiyeon ask what it is. Sana said she couldn't read it all, but between the normal policies it mentioned being careful of a certain woman. And it said that she is the laughing woman, and to avoid her June wonders what it means, and she says that it detailed how to be careful of her. But Sana doesn't remember the details. June says that's weird, and thinks it's a prank. He's a bit slow too. Jiyeon says that it used a popular ghost story. June at this point recognizes that this isn't a coincidence, so he asks Jiyeon what the story is. Jiyeon says it's going viral online, and that it'd be faster to just show him. Jiyeon says hell make a group chat since they exchanged numbers earlier, and to look at the photo he is sending. June's phone vibrates and he sends him some contract that explains how the apartment was built exclusively for its employees. It mentions how if anyone in your family is religious you will be rejected when you visit the department in charge to submit documents. Make sure to turn in anything that can tell time, and after moving in, application withdrawals will not be accepted for hallucinations, hearing voices, or other health reasons. For security reasons, the unit at the end of each hallway is always empty, and if the lights are on or you hear a sound, to ignore it. The apartment doesn't have a fourth floor for religious reasons either. So if it stops, to just live yourself before you're discovered. Entering the stairwell at night is prohibited if you end up absolutely needing to use the stairs. Make sure you crawl. Jin asks him if he understands now. June says besides the note, why do they need to contact a pharmaceutical department? Asking if it's about human experiments, Jen says that's one interpretation at least. June asks him what the right answer is, and Jen asks what he means. June says that it's an odd document, so surely it has some kind of a conclusion, right? He looks down at Sana and thinks for a moment, then tells June that the thing about ghost stories is that they don't have endings or conclusions. He says the document was posted by someone for Clover. It's not like there's a real conclusion or anything. June says that means they just put a picture up, and Jen says yes, I really don't get what this conversation is about. Bro is cooked. June apologizes and realizes that Jen doesn't want to be misunderstood as not knowing something. Jen says to summarize, what's called a manual ghost story is just sneaking weird warnings into otherwise normal documents. June starts to think about the laughing woman and says he can feel this is going to be another pain in the ass. Outside of the third-year hallways, we hear a woman laughing as she walks by the rooms. She has a box cutter in hand, while smiling hella creepy like. I can fix her. Damium tells them that they'll call it here today, and to make sure they all have their textbooks with them, and to be sure to bring the right ones according to the schedule. As everyone goes to head home, June hears the students talking about the books, and starts to laugh, saying from his 3 years of high school experience already, he can tell them they won't even open their textbooks when they get home. Suna then calls out to him and tries to say something, but is nervous. He realizes what she's trying to say, and asks if she wants to walk together. She cheerfully says yes, and he asks if Jen has already left. She points over, saying he's still here. He's talking to the guy who did nothing but play games. June thinks about something, then calls them the fat and skinny duo. Ornstein and Smuff, if you know you know. The school bell officially rings to end the day, and we see June and Suna walking together. He asks her if she goes left from the school gates. She tells him yes. He says he has to go right, so it's a shame they'll have to part. As they keep walking, he thinks about the understanding in the status window. While it doesn't show him levels or stats, it told him to just raise his understanding. He says since it's only 5 out of 100, maybe he can guess to try and raise it. He starts talking about how the apartment she lives in is over 30 years old, and it's usually full of elderly people. He says that gives him some clues. He starts saying she's broke in like 10 different ways, but nothing pops up about the understanding. He says it doesn't seem to work like this, and thinks his vocabulary is the problem. So again he calls her broke 10 different ways. She's catching stray after stray. He says he guesses it doesn't work like this after all, and then thinks ITLL need to be more of a deeper deduction. He says that she acts slow and doesn't talk much. It's possible she was an introvert from the start, but it wouldn't be surprising if it was something environmental that caused it. He wonders if it's from her home environment. Maybe growing up poor made it hard to interact with others and slowly ate away at her self-esteem, and that's how she became timid now. His understanding of her jumps up by 30 points, and he is surprised that it actually worked. She calls out to him as they've already reached the gate. The security guard scolds a girl for her shoes, and June recalls him being mobbed previously. They both say bye to one another, and as she goes he tells her to hold on, and he starts to think about the words to say, then just apologizes to her. Since it's been 3 years for him since he's walked home like this, it's a bit nostalgic to him. He couldn't help but feel excited about it all, but unfortunately he was sleeping on one important fact. He goes to ring the door, but quickly realizes he has no clue which apartment they lived in. A lady starts to come out, and he says this is great timing. He quickly runs in the door before it closes, and makes his way back home. He opens the door, and then remembers his mother as a cashier. Even though he spent a lot of time with them over his 3 years, he still misses them greatly right now. There's no way they made it through the Demon King unharmed. He spots something on the table. It's some money and his mother saying to go buy something to eat. He looks happy while reading it, but asks where he can get chicken for that cheap here. He eats something out of the fridge and says being home is an unbeatable feeling. He looks over and says that nothing happened, but he wasn't able to let his guard down at school, but at least here he can finally relax. He thinks of the Demon King, asking how he's meant to fight that. He lays down on the couch, saying it's a whole new arc for school, and even though he's done 3 years already, feels like a whole new start. He lets out a sigh and says it means hell have to take the national exam again, and says damn. Later in the day he hears his door buzzing, and he quickly gets up out of bed and runs out of his room to see his parents. They are surprised he's so excited, and ask what's gotten into him, asking if he saw a ghost or something. He quickly says that's not it, and his mother asks what he wants to get for dinner. He tells her whatever she wants, and she says he's definitely being odd. He looks back at his system window, and it says he's on his second attempt and has 13 GS points, and a casualty rate of 2. There's also some other stuff, but he will explain when it's important. He wonders why it says second attempt, since the first one was when his head popped, and the second was the Demon King, so this would be his third. But he decides to just skip the he doesn't know. He still doesn't know what the GS points are for or the casualty rate. The club thing is also still locked. He clicks on statistics and we see that it has all of the time he spent doing things, along with his number of deaths. He asks if this was made by some kind of stalker. Then he opens his settings tab, which is just like any other settings in a game. He is curious and says he needs to do some experimenting. He says it's time to recap. He's doing it for us. He says from the settings the graphics adjust the brightness, contrast and gamma, so he can see better in the dark. It feels like a filter was put on his vision. The audio options made it seem like a pair of really good earplugs, but the control options were clunky, and it got to the point where when he moved his foot, his hand would move instead. He barely managed to reset it. His teacher damn him says that they'll pick their seats today, so to come up front and to draw lots. June draws 26 and walks over to it. He saw the girl beside him and his heart skipped a beat. She was way too pretty for him to even try talking to. Never mind, he wasn't that lucky. He's with Smuff. He tells him that it's nice to meet him. Smuff smiles and replies back. June recognizes him as Jen was hanging out with him. His name is Odu Khan, and June's understanding went up by 15. He asks about the handout from the other day, even though Sana told him he wants to get as much info as possible. He pushes up his glasses and snorts, asking if he means the laughing woman one. June wonders why he's such a weirdo, and gives him a look of disappointment. He tells him if he sees the laughing woman, not to pretend that he knows her. Then he says no good in Japanese. June regrets talking to him, saying he should go speak to Sana instead. He walks over at her, saying he saw she was late today. She says yeah, her grandma woke her up late. He asks if she's talked to her deskmate yet, and she says no. June decides to greet her and introduces himself to her. She looks up at him and he says that she's pretty and really wishes he didn't have Smuff as his deskmate. She introduces herself as in Heian. June says that he's sorry for asking out of the blue, but asks if she recalls the handout and how there was an odd warning. She says that it was certainly weird if you spot a woman smiling strangely on campus to turn a blind eye until she passes by. She chuckles, saying that's creepy, trying to see if he agrees, but he's just surprised she remembered it in such detail. He says that this ghost will probably happen, and wonders if he should go look for her. But the warning said not to pretend that he knows her, and shouldn't intentionally look for her. Sana's stomach rumbles loudly. Heian looks at her, but so does June. She quickly starts to feel embarrassed. June says that he guesses she hasn't had breakfast yet. He tells her they'll go to the cafeteria during break at the school convenience store. We see a box cutter inside the store. We see there's a ton of people. June asks if they can even buy anything before the break ends. She says that she isn't sure. He tells her it's better to try than to not. He grabs something. Asking what she'll be getting, she looks nervous. But before she can answer, they turn around to see some students arguing about pushing people in. The guy says it isn't him and turns around pissed. But when he looks up, he sees a tall woman who won't stop laughing. They wonder what her deal is and say maybe she's crazy. She suddenly shouts no very loudly and then slashes across his face very quickly. Bro got ahead of himself as his thoughts are sent across the room. The woman is still laughing even after murdering him. June looks over to see it, and both he and June's hearts sink. She covers her mouth out of pure shock. The other students all start to panic and start running away from this. The woman continues to laugh and starts to extend her box cutter, then keeps her killing spree up, slicing them up very quickly, sending their heads flying across the store. June tells Suna that it's definitely the girl from the handouts. I'm not sure if he got it from her laughing or her slaughtering people. She starts decapitating students left and right. June grabs onto Suna's hand and starts to run away with her. He tells her they need to get to the window behind the counter. He starts to recall what the printout said and asks how the hell he is meant to ignore her when she's killing indiscriminately. He helps Suna across first, but she freezes up after seeing something, then points behind him yelling. He turns to see the woman is close, and she gets right into his face, then goes straight for his eye, killing him. Says hell, restart from a previous checkpoint, and loads. He spawns back inside of the classroom and says he better not be back to the entrance ceremony day, but looks up seeing the lights are on, and then pulls out his phone to check his YouTube notifications. He sees that it's just back to this morning. He wonders what made the checkpoint change, and recalls his death, and feels a phantom pain in his eye. He says that this is definitely no dream and is reality. He says he needs to face the truth. He recalls what Smo said about ignoring her, and how Hien told him to act casual by ignoring her. He lets out a long sigh, and asks how the hell he's meant to do that when she's killing everyone. Demim starts to go over their seating plans again, telling them to draw lots. He gets 26 yet again, and wonders if it's a coincidence. He looks over to see Smo, who is smiling at his phone. He still feels disgusted. He says he did his best to make a lot of variables during the entrance ceremony. For now, he should just collect info. He sits down and starts talking to him, and asks about the handout again. He makes his way back to the dialogue with Hien, saying it's creepy and how he's silent, and then waits for Suna's stomach to growl again, before he asked her to go to the cafeteria, but there's not much to do there. So he plans to just not go and watch from afar. He says he can see the line well from here, and if he figures out from where she appears, it'll be good. He spots her hand on the wall, and she slowly starts to climb over it while laughing. He's surprised she showed up so openly. Gahun then asks him what he's doing here. We can see he just came out of the bathroom. He asks what he's looking at and looks over at it. He tries to tell him to wait, but says that Gahun knows more about the stories than he does, so surely asking him would be the right move. He asks Gahun if he sees the woman. He adjusts his glasses and starts describing her appearance. June says she's the smiling lady from the handouts, and asks how the character from the manual ghost story survived. Gahun is confused, asking what he's talking about. June says that he mentioned it yesterday about the story, asking what the characters do. Gahun says that there isn't a main character, asking if he doesn't understand it even though it's a simple concept. June gets pissed and says he understands, but how did they live? He says that since it's a manual, shouldn't they just follow it, and that it tells him how to act and whatnot. He says that it's somewhat expected and says it's the only way. Gahun smacks his hand away, saying that he's been acting odd since yesterday, asking if he's taking the handout seriously. He asks if it's because of the woman, saying she's just a crazy woman. Then they hear a visceral scream as they turn over to see the woman screaming at them. She's staring directly at Gahun, and her box cutter flies in through the window, stabbing him in the head. June is surprised, as Gahun just got killed so quickly. His body falls limp to the floor, and June starts to feel uneasy as his stomach twists into knots. The other students also see this, and start to scream loudly. Some other students wonder what's happening. They start to one by one come out into the hallway and crowd around wondering what is happening. Suna is one of them, but she's far in the back. Before she can see anything, June grabs onto her hand and tells her they should go take a walk in the field. She is caught off guard and a bit flustered. June says that Demon King or not, he doesn't care, he just wants to run away with Suna. The screams can still be heard from outside. One of the students asks another if he heard that, but bro was locked into a podcast and says he had his earbuds, and the other student says there was a scream. Then we see June and Suna running out of the school. He is holding onto her hand, determined to live. Suna hears even more screams from behind. She tells June, but he tells her not to bother turning back. June is out of breath and says that it's the same thing from the store, or maybe even worse since they are in a hallway. The screams are drowned out by the woman's laughter, and she starts going to town on them. Head after head just sent flying. Other students just watch in pure fear. June and Suna can even see it from outside. They keep running, and he wonders if they are doing this right, asking if they can escape by running. But then what? Hell, spend 3 years in another school, only to die by the Demon King to repeat this cycle. He says even if it isn't, he can think of something later. A cold chill is sent down his spine as we hear the woman saying to not leave. June realizes she's talking to them. He starts to panic, saying they've been caught, but says it's okay, the gate is so close, and they definitely have enough time to climb the wall and hide. But he severely underestimated how fast she was, as she would smoke even Usain Bolt. Suna calls his name out but sounds distant, so he turns, thinking it's odd as she should be right behind him. But then he sees that he has just been holding onto her arm as her body is on the floor with a laughing woman standing atop her. He falls to the floor. With his thoughts being drowned out by his heartbeat, he starts to beg for help. But it's too late, as she is already too close and cuts his head off. With his few seconds of consciousness left, all he can hear are her screams while being told he will be restarting again. He loads back into this morning and is riddled with fear. He asks how the hell he can fight something like this. She's strong enough to cut people's limbs off with just a box cutter. She is faster than the world's fastest man too. He sighs and says to calm down, there has to be a way out of this. He says the laughing woman is from the manual ghost story, just like how yesterday's announcement was resolved by staying in the classroom. The condition must be to pretend not to see her. But how can he do that when it's so terrifying? Even if he does it, those around him won't, which will lead to there being another massacre. He says that the only solution is for him to be alone with her, and to succeed he talks about how it's driving him crazy, and he goes back to drawing lots again. He picks 26 just like usual. He says he's died a couple of times, but how can he get the same number 3 times in a row? But decides it's irrelevant. He says it won't be hard to be alone with her. She climbs over the wall during break, so he just needs to climb over first. The problem is pretending he cannot see her. He could close his eyes and block his ears, but that means head already have reacted, so he needs to endure it with his eyes open and without blocking his ears. He says there's no way to do that, bro forgot about settings. He starts to think about it and wonders if he has to be the one to even do it. He says this ghost story is different from the entrance ceremony one, since it's a real entity and not a mystery. It may be possible for others to stop her. Earlier he got caught since he ran across an open field. But he can survive if he runs or hides on his own. However, even if he reports it quickly, it won't save those in the store. So he decides that he could turn a blind eye to it just this once, and starts to think about the aftermath. Suna calls out to him, and blushes while trying to ask him if he would want to go to the store with her later. As she is a little hungry, he recalls her lifeless body from last time, and hides back the frustration from telling her no. He doesn't reply yet, and says if he knew about this he wouldn't have made friends, even though he was meant to make them. So there's a way to clear it without anyone dying. But he's too phased to think about it. He determines himself to figure it out solo, and she calls out to him saying it's okay if he doesn't want to go. He sighs, and immediately folds, saying that he'll go with her. He says surely it'd be okay to go, right? And he can just take her to the store right outside of the cafeteria. June approaches the wall. Suna seems a bit nervous and says the cafeteria is over to the side. He says yeah, but asks her to wait here for a second. He tells her he's gonna climb the fence for a bit, so he wants her to watch his back. She nervously looks to her left and then to her right, and seems frightened for some reason. He asks her what's wrong, and realizes that he was distracted by the laughing woman, so it would look like he's trying to get her to cover while he smokes. He tells her it isn't like that, and that he has something important to take care of. He makes it over the wall, and says she should soon be climbing over the wall and head to the store. Unless she can teleport or something, she should be heading nearby. He says she's so tall it should be easy to spot. Then he does so, and sees her in the woods. She stops walking, then turns over staring at him. He says it's fine as he hasn't reacted yet. He wonders what to do, saying he hasn't figured out a way to deal with her yet. Unless he can blind himself, how can he ignore her? Then it clicks with him, the fact that he has the damn settings. He quickly puts his brightness to max, and can't see a damn thing. He says this is good. But it's not like he's looking away. He's just spacing away in front of her. He starts to hear her voice, and realizes that he needs to mute the audio. So he quickly swipes it down. He sighs, and says it's almost like he is meditating. And since he knows Sana has his back, his heart is very calm. But he is a bit uneasy since nothing is happening. He wonders if she went straight to the cafeteria, and goes to adjust his brightness a bit. But as he slides it down, she is right in his face. So he quickly maxes it out again. He hopes he didn't make a reaction. He wonders if she is doing this intentionally to force a reaction. He sighs, saying the status window is a power that she can't even change. He says that she is probably prowling around waiting to see a reaction, so he just needs to stay still. He says everything will be fine. He starts to think about all the shit she's put him through and says it pisses him off. Then smacks her in the face. The laughing woman is surprised. And he starts giving her the domestic violence no jutsu, saying equal rights, equal lefts. He keeps hitting her and says it's working. As she hasn't attacked back, it means that he hasn't violated the manual. He tells her to look at his face. She can surely tell he isn't looking at her. He's just a normal student who is practicing his shadowboxing. He hits her, saying this one is for Suna. Then gives her a left, saying it's for John. Then he goes for a kick, saying this is for his grandpa. The laughing woman falls to the floor, but he doesn't know that and sits there out of breath, saying she was nothing but a chump while being gassed out. He wonders how long he's been hitting her for, asking if the break is over yet, but says that him being in one piece means he is definitely following the manual. He wonders how long he has to do it for, saying he should have gotten a message like before. Then he says maybe she actually ignored him and went to the cafeteria, and maybe Suna climbed over the wall to check on him. Then he starts to wonder if he's just been beating the hell out of Suna. He cuts it down a bit to check, but just sees the woman in his face. So slides it back, saying never mind, and that he almost pissed his pants. He clenches his fist and hits her again, saying that he can freely swing his arms without having to worry. He keeps just hitting her over and over, and after a clean hit to her face, he starts to wonder what this excitement he is feeling means. In this silent space, all that exists are him and his fists. He wonders if sweating has ever felt this good before, and that he wants to do even more damage. He starts to channel his inner repo, and he hits her across the head. The laughing woman slowly starts fade out of existence, and goes poof from where he is standing. He is gassed out and asks if he got her or not. A message appears saying that he's come across and survived the Brank ghost story, laughing woman, and has earned 15 GS points. And due to his wits of dealing with her, he earns another 70 GS points. He starts to feel excited, and screams very loudly. He hops back over the wall. He says that victory is more empty than he thought it would be. Suna calls out to him, and asks what he was swearing at, and that she heard fighting noises. He thinks she's talking about the laughing woman swearing. He starts to feel accomplished, saying it was really one-sided. He tells her that there was someone crazy there, but he chased her away, so it should be fine now. She says he should have called a teacher as it was dangerous, and asks if he's hurt or anything. He tells her he's fine. He says other than that, how many minutes left until their break ends? It cuts back to their classroom. Jion asks why they took so long to get back, saying class started almost 30 minutes ago. He says they are lucky that it's self-study time, or else they would have thought that they'd be skipping classes on the second day of school. Jun says he had stuff to deal with, and then asks why it's self-study. It's meant to be Korean listed on the schedule. Jion says that they are busy with meetings and stuff since it's early. The teacher told them to think of a club to join. Jun asks about the clubs, and Jion says clubs are pretty active in their school, so joining one is a must. Jun looks down at the schedule, saying that there aren't classes Friday afternoon. It's just club activities, and the school is hella serious about clubs. He starts to think about what clubs are available. His status window pops up, and says that he decided to make his own club. He says he hasn't even looked at them, But it decided for him that none of them appeal to him. He starts to think about it, but just sighs. Instead, he pulls out his pen and decides to go along with it and to do as he's been told. He puts an application in for the Ghost Story Club, finishing the tutorial. It cuts to the cafeteria, and we see their thing saying school lunch etiquette. He looks at the status window to show that club management is still locked, and his casualty rate is 4. While munching, he says the casualty rate is higher, and wonders if it's an experience system. He skips the things he doesn't know, and opens his status windows. We see that he has 3 options for special abilities. He says he can use the ghost story points for a special ability. He says it wouldn't make sense to be fighting monsters without them. He clicks on the menu to reveal he needs 100 GS points to unlock the ability. He says those points he saved from dying over and over. He has to spend it all to get a single point. He says the economy in this game blows. He uses them all, and a window pops up and turns out it's a gacha system and begins to roll for his skill as it starts to spin. He starts to feel sick that they are all random. He wonders what fast walking is. Saying it's not even running, he starts to pray he gets something not straight dookie. It starts to slow down and he says please anything but fast walking. It starts going from skill to skill very slowly and lands on one called Goddess of Luck. It's an S-rank skill that triggers automatically. It will give him a burst of luck in a dire situation. But it's a consumable which bothers him. He says things are looking good from the start. They head to Midoriya. It's their version of McDonald's. I guess Jen is telling them all that burgers aren't bad for their health. He says it's perfect food and well, he yaps a lot. June ignores him and keeps eating. He keeps yapping, but quickly distorts as his voice is stuck on loop. Then he continues, asking June if he understood at all. June says yes, sure, and looks over at Suna putting on makeup, and says she's really pretty. June keeps it up, and then his head starts to swell up, and he explodes like a zit, causing his glasses to fall through the air and land on June's face. It was due to his Goddess of Luck. He says he didn't expect them to work like this. He looks over at Suna saying they should get going. But he is surprised to see her stab herself in the eye. She pulls it out and repeats it over and over, leaving nothing but blood on their food. He calls out to her, and she slowly turns to him with half of her face destroyed. She starts to laugh like a banshee, and he jolts awake. He sits up in bed and sighs out of relief. It was just a dream. But he says it's understandable. As he's been through so much, he sighs again and looks strained emotionally. He says he hopes nothing special happens today. It cuts to the school, and inside of the bathroom we see a toilet. Some hands begin to crawl out of it, as we see a girl's face peer out of it. It cuts to the faculty room as Damian is asking June if he knows what he's called in here. June looks nervous, saying that he has no clue. Damian reaches towards some files and pulls out a piece of paper, showing it to June, and we see that it is his club form. Damian says, there is no ghost story club in the school. And since he wrote down a club that doesn't exist, that means he must be wanting to make one. June says yes and then nervously asks if freshmen aren't allowed to form clubs. Damian says there's no rules against it, it's just that normally people don't in their first year. Damian goes onto his computer saying that he'll print him an application form and all he has to do is fill it out and bring it to him before he goes home today. He tells him that he needs 4 people at minimum to create a club and to find 3 more members. The printer starts to go off and Damian tells June to take the one that's being printed. Also, to leave the teacher in charge field blank as they will handle it. June bows and thanks him and then wonders who to recruit first, because all he can think of is Suna and John. As he is going over, Damian calls out to him asking if he knows about this specific ghost story. On the freshman restroom on the east side in the boys' room, there is a ghost. June is surprised and wonders why the ghost stories are being mentioned every single day. Damian says that the story goes like this: when you are in the 4th cubicle, you suddenly will hear a strange voice. It whispers terrifying things into your ears. Damian asks if he wants to know what it says. June audibly gulps, asking what it is. Damian has the hentai protagonist's glasses glare, asking if he wants the red tissue or the blue tissue. June realizes that it's just Morpheus and says that the story is old. As he is walking down the hallway, he starts to think of the 3 people for the club, saying that he only has 2 friends. He thinks about asking Smo or Herman but realizes he is not close with them. Since he only talked to them once after regressing, he sees Jean, He walking down the hallway, and behind her is Suna. He sighs, saying it looks like they ran through the courtyard together since they were late, and how Suna barely made it yesterday as well. Then he thinks about it, saying that Jin-hee was one of the people verified on his status window. She's one of the 3 friends in the quest. He decides to ask her if she's willing to join, but she gives him the cold shoulder. She slides the classroom door open and heads inside, leaving June awkwardly waving. Suna waves back at him, and he's just glad that she replied, saying that he can pretend he was trying to talk to her in the first place. Then he calls out to her, saying that he is trying to start a club and was wondering if she would join. It cuts to the bathroom, and he's dropping straight heat. We learn that Suna agreed to join, and he also hopes that John joins without an issue. For the remaining slot, he should probably ask Smo, as he and John seemed close. We hear a voice in the 4th stall asking who's there, and June turns to look at it. The voice asks if he wants to die, saying to stop pulling pranks. June asks what he means, saying he hasn't done anything. He says to stop bringing up the red tissue or blue tissue. June starts to recall the story that Damien told him, saying that it is the 4th cubicle and maybe Damien was telling the truth. He starts to recount the ghost story, saying that the Morpheus question of red pill or blue pill is a classic ghost story. A ghost in the bathroom asks the person if they want red or blue tissue. No matter which one the person chooses, they die. June starts to second guess himself, saying that it must be a coincidence, but realizes that that's not the case. He wonders if he should try to run away or just go against it. The voice inside calls out to him, asking if he's still there. We see that it is a first-year student named Hyunsuk. He wonders if June is messing with him and puts his phone into his pants, saying that once he leaves, he's dead meat. But he looks over at the toilet paper holder and realizes that it's empty. He asks June if he can hand him some toilet paper in the next stall. June sighs, saying that he doesn't want to die. Hyunsuk apologizes for cursing, saying he'll get him some food if he helps. June says that it's his choice. Then he starts to hear the voice asking about the tissues. Hyunsuk kicks the door, yelling, saying to stop playing with him, then asks June which class he is in. As he keeps yelling, June wonders what to do, saying that he could just run away, but that will lead to the pooper being killed. Hyunsuk says that he'll remember his voice, and he'll find him when he gets out. June kicks the door, asking why he keeps swearing. Hyunsuk starts to get annoyed and zips up his pants, saying that's it, and to wait for him to come out. The only thought in June's mind is that little bro didn't wipe, and he starts to run away, saying that is nasty as hell. As he goes to run out, his homeroom teacher appears. He's caught off guard and sees her sighing. He tries to tell her this is the boys' room, but she says that she heard them yelling outside, asking why they were fighting so early into the semester. He wonders how he's going to explain this and decides to make an excuse. He tells her that Hyunsuk didn't have any tissues, so he was poking fun at him. She sighs, asking if he is a child or something, saying that he should have just borrowed the tissues earlier, asking why he didn't answer when he was told to pick a color. June awkwardly laughs, saying he knows, then realizes what she just said as she starts to crouch down onto the floor and crawl on all fours, straight past June onto the ceiling. Hyunsuk looks up to see her, and she starts to twitch and convulse while repeating how many times. Then her head turns full exorcist as she asks how many times she needs to mention the tissues. She asks Hyunsuk why he's not answering. Hyunsuk runs out of the stall without wiping and falls onto the floor, probably smearing it. He wonders what that is, yelling, asking what's going on. He makes eye contact with the teacher. Then she jumps off the top rope, landing right in front of him in the deepest voice imaginable. She asks him to choose between the red or blue tissues. Hyunsuk starts pleading with June for help, but June is at a loss for words. He's sure she was the teacher at the entrance ceremony. Wondering if she's been a ghost, the butt says she's most likely just possessed instead. He starts to think about it, how if you pick the red tissue you bleed to death, whereas if you pick blue you're strangled to death. He takes a shot in the dark, quickly yelling out white tissues. Hyunsuk begins to shake and cry as June tells his teacher to give him the white tissues, since if he's gonna die either way, he might as well pick a different option. He knows it's a childish idea, but there's no other way. He wonders how she will react. She raises up off of the floor and starts walking towards him, saying that boys his age can't help it after all. She puts her finger on her lip, asking if he really wants the white tissues, while giving him a seductive look, making June's heart skip a beat. June wonders what he's supposed to say. Since the red tissues turn him red, the blue tissues turn him blue. He wonders if the white will turn him white, wondering what that would even mean. Hyunsuk takes this chance to June, gets annoyed, saying he left as soon as he drew aggro, and grits his teeth, calling him ungrateful. The teacher then says so and gets close to him, asking what they are going to do, asking if he wants to experience the white tissues. His heart starts to race, and he wonders what will happen if he says yes. He stutters and then quickly says that he's sorry. He hasn't pooped yet today, so hell, just accept her thoughts, and then walks away. I have second-hand embarrassment. He wonders if it worked, and he turns saying that it was the fourth cubicle in the story anyways, so he shouldn't be a part of it as he walks. He prays she doesn't come after him, and he exits the bathroom door. He lets out a long sigh, then looks at the status window that pops up, saying that he has survived the C-rank ghost story. He has earned 10 GS points. He squats down out of relief and says at least this time he finished it without dying. And he wonders what the white tissues were. Back in the classroom we hear saying that life is truly wonderful, and he's glad that he has a desk mate who initiates conversations. As it usually only happens in anime, and in some weeb Japanese, he apologizes about the club invitation, saying that he's planning to join the anime club, where he belongs. June stares at him and wishes that he was in any other manhwa right now. We see him telling Jen about it and that it's called the Ghost Story Club. He asks Jen if he is interested. Jen thinks about it, saying that he was just planning to join one of the academic clubs. June says that's no surprise, as he didn't seem to care about anything other than the college entrance exam, but decides to give it another shot. He tells Jen that joining academic clubs is a losing strategy for freshmen, as they don't put you in extracurricular activities that would be helpful for resumes. Jen asked what he means. June explains that because of the seniors, the school focuses on activities in the second and third years. Even if you win an award in a club competition, the seniors get their names listed first. Jen asks what he is talking about and why he's even giving him advice. June wonders if he hurt his pride or something, saying he's rude. But his understanding of Jen increases by 5. He decides to bluff with the experience of a 3-year regressor, saying that he believes he's entitled to give advice, asking Jen if he's better at studying. Jen says he is better than him at least. June gets slightly annoyed by how he talks, but does not disagree with him. He can't afford to lose a battle of words. He asks what his rank was in middle school. Jen tells him that he was in the top 10 at the very least. June tells him that he was always in the top 3. Jen says there's no way, asking why he decided to enter this school, not a special one. June crouches down, saying to be honest, asking if he has the same goal as him. Rather than hitting the bottom ranks at a special high school, it's better to be the top of this school and go to the national university. Jen says that he was planning to go to another college. June says it does not matter and to listen carefully. This is not a losing suggestion for him, as he said. It's pointless to join an academic club in the first year. Jen said his mother never mentioned this. June says it's weird to be a mama's boy at 17. He tells him to think about it, saying that he's going to organize the club with first year only, which means they'll be the first ever members. So he asks him what will happen if they get to a competition and win. There won't be any hazing or anything else. Jen apologizes to him, saying that the ghost story theme is odd, but it doesn't sound like a bad idea. June thinks about how he's already got him, as he can't decline this offer. That is because his understanding of Jen has increased by another 20. Jen says that it would be better for him to start a club instead. June says that'll be difficult, as originally the first years weren't allowed to make clubs, then lets him in on a secret, but he has connections on the teacher side. He's completely bullshitting Jen, eats it up, and then daps June up, saying hell, give it a shot. Now June only needs one more person to form the Ghost Story Club. June says that anybody who submitted a self-introduction letter to college would naturally know that documents are usually half fiction. We see Suna nervously asking if he is done yet. June says almost, and we see him writing something out, saying that it will be good to sugarcoat it. Suna asks if they'll be able to do club activities by themselves. He says that only if they get one more person, asking her if it sounds fun. She excitedly says yes. He says that she's probably just glad to have people to be comfortable with. His understanding of her increases by 5. He says not to worry, as hell's sure to get one more person before the end of today, and they'll have fun. The clock ticks by as it gets closer and closer to dismissal time. June says that he is screwed, they'll leave soon and they still need one more member. He wonders what to do, asking if he should just write down a random name. He decides that doesn't feel right and hell need to talk to the teacher about it. Damien tells everybody good work, and how this morning a student slipped in the bathroom and got hurt, telling them all to be careful not to slip. As everybody goes to leave, June calls out to Damien, handing him the club application form. Damien snatches it up before June can finish his thought. Damien tells him that he'll see him tomorrow. June tries to get him to wait, but Damien quickly walks off. June says that he's the type who wants to stay longer than he has to, and his understanding of Damien increases by 5 as he starts heading back home. He says he ended up submitting it one person short, and at the status window says it's a quest, so he wonders what will happen if he fails. But he decides to stop worrying about it, saying he is sure it will work out as he keeps walking home. This was the first day. He survived without dying, of course. It was thanks to him knowing of the story beforehand. He wonders if he's supposed to study ghost stories for the future, and thinks about all of the trouble so far, saying this shit is exhausting. He looks up towards the apartments. He sees a figure on the balcony, which is his mother. He waves to her, saying that she's home early, wondering if something happened. She doesn't respond to his waves, and then starts to glare at him. He wonders why she's just staring, asking if maybe something bad happened. He quickly runs up to the door and opens it. He tells her that he is home, but she's nowhere to be found. He walks around asking where she is, and goes room to room saying that he is pretty sure he saw her. He opens the balcony to see Slippers, asking where she went in that short moment, saying that he is sure she was here. Then a chill runs on his spine as he turns to his left to see his mother sitting inside of the washing machine, just glaring at him. He gets scared and stumbles backwards, landing on the floor. He looks up completely panicked, wondering what's going on and if maybe he is hallucinating. His heart starts to beat rapidly and his eyes begin to blur as his mother's head peers around the corner, asking him how school was. He doesn't answer, so she asks him again how it was. June says that he needs to run and starts scrambling towards the door, wondering if his mother is possessed, asking why he has to suffer this at home too. He gets to the door and his mother yells, saying that he's just like his father, asking where he thinks he's going. He grabs onto the door and then opens it, hauling absolute cheeks downstairs. He makes it to the side of the street and is gassed out, asking what the hell is going on. He says since it's at his house, he can't run away this time. But he really does not want to go back. He lets out a sigh, saying he has no choice. Hell, just wait for his father to get home from work. He has his phone with him, but he left his wallet. Yet he was still somehow able to put his slippers on. In the middle of that, he starts to walk around wondering what to do to pass the time. Sometime later in the afternoon, we see him swinging, saying that he doesn't have the money to do anything. Then something comes to his mind and he stops talking as he says that he is thinking about Sana. It's not like he has a specific reason, and he decides to just message her. While he's thinking about her, he sends her a text, then realizes after sending it that was the first time he's ever messaged a girl. He hopes he didn't make any mistakes, saying maybe he should have been more formal, saying maybe she'll cut him off for being rude. She replies, saying hi, and even adds a cute smiley face. He's surprised that she replied, but instantly feels giddy, saying that she's so cute. He starts asking her what she is doing, and she says that she was just spacing out. He thinks about it and says there's no way she was just spacing out, saying that it might be a girl language. There is a whole lot of text. I ain't reading all that. You can if you want. After he says that he left his wallet behind, she doesn't reply for a while, which makes him anxious. He wonders if she doesn't like him whining. He decides that he should try changing the subject, but says that would make him seem clingy. She then replies, asking him if he would like to come to her place. Without hesitation, he says yes. He heads over to her apartment, and we see her open the door. She tells him that it's a bit messy, but welcomes him, and he starts to calm himself down as his heart is going crazy. He says he doesn't want to think about stuff like she has a girly room, or that it smells nice. He enters the apartment seeing that it is hella worn down, but says he expected this much already. He takes his shoes off, asking if her grandma's not here. She is then surprised, asking how he knew that she lived with her grandma. He says because she told him that her grandma woke her up late. But then he realizes that that was in a different life, as he was killed. Since her brain is smooth, he gaslights her into believing it. He quickly changes the conversation, asking her if she plays games. She says that she doesn't have a computer. Then he spots the TV, asking if she wants to watch it, saying that they might be able to find a good movie. She says that it can only show public TV networks. He realizes that anything he says is going to be a critical hit because she is poor. They begin going through her yearbook, and June says that Suna looks the exact same as she did in middle school, asking her how she spent her time during it. She awkwardly tries to come up with a reply, but it ends up with just silence instead. June gulps, saying this is awkward, and that he needs to change the topic. He looks up to see one of her books about humor. She says it's a really old book, but that she finds it funny. It's just a bunch of puns, and he starts asking her about them. He starts to read them aloud and she answers them. He tells her that's amazing, asking if she memorized them all. Embarrassed, she says yes, as it was nothing special. He says he understands though, since there's not much to do at Suna's house, and since she has no friends, she kept reading the humor book over and over to the point that it became worn out. He starts to feel guilty, saying that this isn't good, and no matter what they do, it feels more tense and there are too many landmines here. She misunderstands what he's feeling, asking if her house is boring. He's surprised, and she apologizes, saying that she called him because she wanted to fix her personality now that she's in high school. But sadly she's poor, so there's nothing fun to do here. He looks at her and asks her what she usually does after school, as he is genuinely curious about her hobbies. She starts to tell him what she does and says yesterday she came home to get changed, then walked around the neighborhood for a bit and then went to sleep right after eating dinner. She says that she went to bed late so she couldn't wake up early, and he realizes that's why she was late. She apologizes, saying that she can't remember the day before yesterday. He calls out to her, saying even if the Ghost Story Club doesn't work out, he wants to join the same club as her. She is surprised but smiles warmly at him, saying yeah, and his understanding of her increases by 10. He heads back home, saying that the time has come. This time he's got backup. His dad asks what's wrong with his face. He says that it's unbelievable, but there's something strange in the house, and something is pretending to be his mother. The father stiffens up, asking when he first saw it. June is surprised, and his father says that he first saw it 3 days ago. June says if it was 3 days ago, that's the day before the entrance ceremony. His father tells him how he came out of his room late at night and saw her doing a handstand on the table. When he called out to her as her neck twisted and turned at him, she says that all of the other husbands drive to pick their wives up, asking why he can't do the same at work. He got a call on his phone and he answers it. She's asking him if his mother is the only mother, saying she wants to go see her mother's face too. He says that for the past few days he's been waiting for his mother in front of the house, even if he gets off of work early. June says that now that he thinks about it, his mother did ask if he saw a ghost in the house or something. June asks his father what they should do, and he sighs, saying that they can't put his mother in danger, so they need to handle it themselves. They head upstairs and enter the house, but they leave the door stopped down, grabbing an umbrella for defense, and they slowly walk forward. They see a light coming from the kitchen, and they both slowly start to walk towards it. We see his mother grab a knife, and they both turn the corner in fear. To see her floating above the cutting board with a knife in hand, their hearts start to beat like crazy. As the mother's head starts to twitch and then turns into a corkscrew, as she glares at them, asking where they have been and why they are coming home so late. June's father drops his briefcase, screaming to disappear if you're a ghost and leave if you are a human. The mother does not reply, and then after a minute, she asks if it's fair that when someone else makes a mess, she has to clean it up. June and his father both get cold sweats, and she asks why they keep making messes. Screaming at them, she leaps at them, saying just let her relax please. Father readies his umbrella and opens it, blocking the knife. He realizes that it's going to come into him, so he raises his hand, flipping the umbrella, knocking the mother over, making her hit her head. She lays there for a second and then slowly starts to stand back up, telling him that she can't keep living like this, and that they should hang themselves and die. Father tells June to stay behind him, saying it doesn't feel right. The mother does not say anything, but she looks up, giving him a haunting gaze. She says that she heard the class president can focus for 3 hours straight, and she never should have had a dumbass like June. She begins to David Blaine into the air, saying that they should all just die together. She starts to cry blood and then flies toward, repeating that they should all just hang around. Father tells June to run as mother grabs onto him and begins to choke him out. June watches this and, trembling in fear, still raises his umbrella, saying to let go of his father, and then smacks her in the head. She takes the attack and then glances over at him, making him terrified. Father tells him to stay back as he will handle this. Then we hear their neighbors calling out to them. June turns over to see the neighbors entering their house, asking what is going on. June says that it is the auntie and uncle from next door. The uncle starts to walk towards June's mother, asking what is the meaning of this, saying that they should settle it through conversation, asking her why she is doing this all of a sudden. Then he notices she is flying and his heart drops. She glares at him, saying all he does is drink and gamble, so she doesn't want to live here anymore, so she plans to hang everybody and to stay out of her way. Uncle says that does not sound like June's father, and then comments on her eyes bleeding. He tells June that there is something wrong with his mother and to go to his house and call the cops. June panics, not knowing what to do, but father yells saying to go do it. June grits his teeth and then starts running, telling his dad to hang in there. He and the auntie make it inside and he is gassed. The auntie asks him what is going on, saying that his parents were getting along perfectly normal just the other day. He tells her to wait and he will explain it later. Since he needs to call the police first, he starts to call them and then their doorbell camera goes off. Terrified, they both glare over. We hear June's father saying that he needs him to open the door. We see his eyes bulging and his tongue hanging out of his mouth. Both June and auntie are at a loss for words. June asks who he is and what happened to his father. His father asks if he's tired of eating instant noodles to the point of getting heartburn. He got tired of it, so he hung himself along with his mother, and that June should join them and die. June asks what he's talking about, saying that they don't even eat instant noodles. His father tells him to open the door. June gets pissed and barks, asking what they've done to his parents. His phone begins to ring and he picks it up to see that it's his mother. He answers it and she asks if something happened to the house. As she just got home from work, there is a huge crowd at the front gate as well as the police. June realizes that people must have reported the commotion and tells her they're fine and not to enter and if the police pass by. June then loses his train of thought as he watches on the monitor. As his father's lifeless body is moved out of the camera frame, we see his mother staring at the camera as well as tons of feet hanging from the ceiling. June and auntie are even more terrified than before as they hear people being choked outside of the apartment. June wonders what in the world is going on, asking if his dad is okay, saying that he needs to do something. He looks around for any form of a weapon and sees a bag with golf clubs. He quickly runs over and grabs one out. Auntie asks him where he's going and he says to wait here and he'll see what he can do. He opens the door to see his dad laying on the floor. He starts shaking him, saying to get himself together, but his dad is unresponsive. Then he wonders where his mother went. We see her pop down from the ceiling above him. He hears her breathing and turns as she is flying and asking how he's going to marry anybody with his fat piggy body. He smacks her in the face with a club, which stops her for a second. Her head reels from the hit, but her gaze does not shift. She grabs June by the throat, causing him to drop the golf club. He struggles, screaming to get off of him, and tries to pry her hands away from his throat, but she begins to squeeze tighter, saying that he should just die already, and she's tired of him making her suffer. Due to the lack of oxygen, and his eyes roll into the back of his head and he is strangled to death. The windows appear saying that he is dead and he will restart at the previous checkpoint. And it loads him in. We see Suna telling him that she had fun and to take care, but he is speechless. She calls out to him asking what's wrong and in a sad tone replies to her, then instantly acts cheerful, saying that he'll see her tomorrow. She smiles, saying okay, and then he heads back home. We see him calling somebody and we hear Jen answer the phone. June says he has something to ask if he is free. Jen says that he is in his study break and June tells him about a horror story regarding an entity pretending to be his mother, asking if he has heard of such a thing. Jen wonders why he is so obsessed with ghost stories and June tells him that he is just curious, asking if it rings a bell. Jen says that if it's that kind of ghost story he can think of one. And while there are tons of stories about ghosts pretending to be family members, there is a famous one which is called the Mother Dilemma. June asks what it is and if there is a way out. Jian thinks about it and says there is something. Jian starts to read the story out loud, saying, on a certain night, I was on the second floor studying when suddenly I heard my mother calling. She asked me to come to the kitchen for a second, telling me to come downstairs. On his way to the stairs, where his mother was, he heard a startled voice coming from his parents' bedroom on the second floor. His mother then tells him to wait and not to go down into the kitchen. As she also just heard that same voice, the man begins to feel fear. The question behind the story is, in that moment, which mom would you trust? Jian explains that it's an urban legend that came from the United States, and surely June gets the basic feeling of the story now. June starts biting his nail, saying that the fact that it's a dilemma means there's no clear answer. Jian agrees, saying, of course. June curses, saying that even if things are uncertain, getting information is a good thing. Just like before, the clue to figuring it out is always in the ghost story. He confirms that it is a famous ghost story, asking if there is anything that other people have theorized. Jian does the classic hentai protagonist push, saying that there are several theories out there, from deductions made from the orders the moms called out, as well as where they were located. June says he doesn't think this is going to help him, and in the first place it's obvious which one the real one is. He asks if there are any other theories. Maybe there's a way to figure out how to chase the fake one away. Jian tells him that class will be starting soon, so he has to go. Jun apologizes, saying Jian's the only one who knows this much. Stroking his ego a bit, Jian says if that's the case, he has no other choice as a joke. People sometimes suggest saying something like news of pregnancy or failing grades, something that would make your mom react violently to try and differentiate the two. Jian says he doesn't really have any more time, and Jun thanks him, telling him to study hard, and then hangs up. Jun starts walking back, saying this is it. He feels like if he digs this idea, something will come out of it. What's important here isn't exposing their identity. It's having them expose that themselves. Rather, it's about making them no longer able to imitate his mother. He realizes something and starts to cook up a plan, wondering if it's going to work, saying he thinks it'll be possible. But he decides it's not the time to ponder over things, and for now, he should confront it head on. We see the apartment at sunset. Jun's dad asks him if he also saw it. He says yes. There's something weird at home. Jun says they should solve this before mom comes home, and that he has a good plan. His dad asks him what it is, and Jun nervously thinks about it, realizing that even if he tries to explain it, his father won't understand, and it's probably better to show it to him in person. Since his dad is someone with good common sense, he'll instantly realize it. So Jun tells his dad they should go up and he'll explain once they're there. Jun then rings the doorbell, and his dad asks why he's ringing. He continues to push it 3 more times, hoping that his fake mother answers. The speaker starts to buzz, indicating that it's been picked up. Jun decides it's time to let it rip, saying, "Open the door, daughter-in-law." His dad is confused, and the mother doesn't reply, so Jun locks into character, banging on the door, saying, "Open the door, daughter-in-law. I came here knowing you're already here, and only you would leave your mother-in-law at over the age of 70 waiting at the door." There's no response from the intercom, but the door begins to beep as it unlocks. They slowly open it. Seeing his mother's head at the edge of the hallway, she asks, "How dare you? How does someone like you, who is so bad at studying, walk in confidently?" She still thinks he's Jun. He responds by telling her she needs to teach him the code to the front door. Every time he presses the bell, it feels like he's coming to someone else's home, and he doesn't like that. His mother asks him how come there's nothing he's good at, asking who he even takes after. Jun continues, asking if it's an issue that he's saying he wants to come into his own house. They all sit there speechless. The mother continues talking to him like it's Jun, but before she can finish her sentence, Jun cuts her off, asking if it's wrong for him to say that he wants to come to his own home. He screams, "Give me the passcode," asking if it's too hard to understand because she's uneducated. The mother is completely speechless and then starts to mutter the words mother-in-law as she instantly changes character. As she has fallen for his Oscar-winning performance, the fake mother genuinely believes he is her mother-in-law. Asking why she is speaking like that, Jun is glad, realizing that his plan worked, and decides to keep up the momentum. He says that since he gave birth to his son's house would be his house, and asks what kind of person she is to have such shallow thoughts. He continues, saying that if she is the daughter-in-law, she should have come out quickly to greet him and open the door. He starts raising his voice, asking if the only reason she didn't is because she doesn't like when he comes over. "Is that right?" he asks. She instantly responds, "No, that isn't it." Jun presses further, "What do you mean that isn't it? Are you making a fuss because you're annoyed I came over?" She begins to struggle to say that it's all a misunderstanding. Jun goes nuts on the table, calling her a bitch, saying that he's got her now. He asks if she even knows what day it is, asking what she is doing. The fake mother starts to think about it, then asks, "What day is it?" Jun didn't expect this and is surprised. The fake mother demands to know what day it is today. Jun, caught off guard, wonders why she's the one questioning him. Asking why she is so clueless, she gets right in his face, pressing him again. "What day is it today?" This throws Jun off, and he realizes that the flow has been interrupted. He needs to come up with something quickly. His father comes in clutch, yelling that today was the day she promised to pick up the kids from daycare. Jun turns around, worried, as he didn't expect his father to jump in like that. His father asks her if her memory is that bad, or if it's too difficult for her to look after one child, that she decided to ghost his kid completely. The mother doesn't say anything, and Jun's father asks if that's the case. Jun praises his father, thinking that this sister-in-law concept is great, and that his father really understood his intentions in such a short period of time. He thinks this is the true dignity of the head of a family. The fake mother instantly folds again, asking how she can make such a request, saying that taking care of a child is so hard. His father barks at her, asking if she is insane, saying that because of her, his kid was crying non-stop at the daycare center, and demands compensation for the emotional distress caused to her and the kid. Demanding 500 immediately, the fake mother is confused, asking why she is being asked to take care of the child when they could have just gotten a babysitter instead. Jun's father retorts that she must be out of her mind, asking how he could trust his kid to an outsider. She begins to shake, asking why he's getting her to do it. The father keeps barking at her, asking if he is just end to her, and if she's ignoring them because things got difficult. The fake mother pleads, telling him to stop. The father says enough, telling her to hand over the money or just leave the house immediately. The fake mother asks why she has to leave the house, and Jun also chimes in, asking if she genuinely doesn't know why, reminding her that it's his son's house, so it's effectively his house, calling her a bitch again. The fake mother is at a loss, and Jun points to the door, telling her to leave right now, saying that he doesn't even want to see her face, and that she can go back to her parents' house, as she's always asking to go visit them. He tells her to leave and get the hell out of here right now. His father joins in, also telling her to go back to her parents' house and leave. They both start chanting, telling her to go back to her parents, and she starts to stutter, overwhelmed by the pressure. This continues as she starts to clutch her chest, struggling to say something. She begins to shake as they ask why she's not leaving. Then she lets out a scream, and her head begins to glow, as her skin begins to crack, while a bright light comes out. She vanishes into the air. Jun and his father are both shocked, seeing that there's nothing left, and Jun begins to sweat nervously. He turns back to his dad, who is also sweating, and they share a moment of understanding. Jun locks eyes with his dad, and they share a celebratory high five that echoes through the room. Suddenly, the door begins to buzz, and they both wonder if the ghost has come back. As it opens, they hear his mother saying, "Oh my," and she wonders why they are both standing in front of the door. They look back at each other, then instantly hug her, calling out to her. She asks what happened for them to be acting like this, and comments that they are being a bit creepy. A status window appears, saying Jun has come across and survived a prank ghost story, and he has earned 15 ghost story points. He falls onto his bed, letting out a long sigh. Due to exerting great wit and repelling the mother's ghost, he has earned an additional 70 ghost story points, giving him enough to roll for another ability. He says he's got it, but he's tired of the spam and just wants to sleep as he closes his eyes and knocks out. He then starts to have visions of the Demon King, as a scroll appears saying that the Demon King proposes a truce, asking if he will accept or not. As Jun stares out the window, he glances over to his left and sees a man on his hands and knees, pleading with him not to do it. The man begs him not to follow through with it. Jun looks back to his right towards the Demon King. While staring at the window, he says he's sorry and that he must have always been a bastard like this. He then accepts the truce with the Demon King. The man in his dreams starts screaming at him, and Jun suddenly wakes up, wide-eyed and sweating nervously, wondering what the hell just happened. He wasn't even looking at the screen. Based on his stats, we see he has a casualty of 7 and over 100 ghost story points. He realizes he was so tired that he fell asleep without washing up, but that dream was very different from the nightmares he usually has. Now that he has 100 points, it means he can unlock an ability. He recalls that he unlocked the Goddess of Luck last time, and that the skill activates at the moment when he would receive the most benefit. Yesterday he was definitely on the brink of death multiple times, and if it didn't activate even then, he wonders what sort of crazy situation it needs. He decides that he'll notice it once it comes out, as the activation is automatic after all. What he needs to worry about now is whether he should pull for an ability or not. Since he doesn't know whether he'll use it or not, he wonders if he should just leave it. He heads to school, still thinking about it in the hallway, and then spots something in front of him. We see him calling out to Sana. He's surprised that she came early today, and she laughs, saying it's because she slept on time yesterday. He says it must have been because they played around, but that doesn't mean he'll be able to go and play with her every day. He glances over, seeing Heian sitting beside her. Now that he thinks about it, he didn't speak to her in this last attempt, and for some reason it feels like she's going to apply to the reading club, as that's all he ever sees her doing. A window appears, saying his understanding of her has increased by 5. Then he hears Dimim calling out to him from the doorway in a creepy tone. June turns, a bit nervous, and Dimim tells him to follow him for a moment. June realizes that the time has come. In the teacher's office, he asks how it went. Dimim sighs, asking if June really thinks a ghost story club would get permission. June cringes. Thinking as expected, it didn't work, but then Dimim says if that's what he thought, then he'd be correct. June is mega confused, asking what he just said. Dimim smiles, saying that the club was accepted, as the school is generous regarding club activities. June is happy, but Dimim tells him that because they were missing a member, it ended up being rejected. June is mentally check out now. Dimim laughs at him, asking what kind of expression that is, and if he really thought he'd get permission when they didn't have enough members. Dimim continues laughing, saying his belly is hurting and he might actually die from laughter. June is still lost, get this boy a map, wondering if Dimim has always been this type of character. Dimim stops himself, saying that was a great laugh, but then admits it was just a joke. Actually, there was one student who didn't hand in her application, so he got permission after he put her on the list. June asks if that's really true, but Dimim immediately tells him it's just a lie and starts laughing at him again, saying this is too damn good. As Dimim laughs, June decides hell just go. But Dimim tells him to wait, admitting that it actually wasn't true, and this time it isn't a joke. He hands June a note, telling him that the approval for the Ghost Story Club has been received. June grabs it worried and looks at it, wondering if it's another joke, but we see that Jin-hee has been added to the list. He is surprised by this, wondering how she got on there. Some confetti appears as he has now cleared the quest tutorial, and he's about to go over the rewards. He is now the president of the Ghost Story Club, and the rewards include the managed club menu, 10 ghost story points, and a club room. The club room has been automatically added to the school. June is happy, saying he finally did it, and that he cleared the quest. Then he thinks about it for a second, telling Dimim that he should have just told him it was approved from the start, asking why he kept teasing him. Dimim takes notes from Jiyeon and activates his hentai protagonist Glass Glare, saying that this is all for his own happiness, and his understanding of Dimim has increased by 40. June sighs, agreeing, and now, after some twists and turns, the formation of his Ghost Story Club is complete. A window appears, saying this is the end of the tutorial, and once again, congratulations on coming to school. A status window appears, saying this is the end of the tutorial, and reminds him that he needs to gather comrades to prevent the revival of the Demon King. His casualty rate has increased by 1, and he has gained 10 more ghost story points. Dimim tells him that this is an unprecedented occurrence and that it's quite excessive for a newly formed club, but the school gave him a club room. June is surprised, saying that he already knew through the system, but he didn't expect it to already be applied. Dimim continues, saying this is quite peculiar. As they discovered a room on the 5th floor they weren't using, a student who was cleaning in the morning found it. The thing is, no one knew such a room existed. Even though he joined the school 10 years ago, he didn't know about it either. He wonders how this happened. Dimim adds that for the new room to coincidentally go to the new Ghost Story Club, he was a little envious, so he messed with June a bit. Dimim then says that it'll be homeroom soon, so June should head back to class. Back in the classroom, Jian and Suna ask June if the club was accepted, both looking hopeful. He didn't expect them to be so invested but decides to mess with them by letting out a long sigh and apologizing, saying that the club application was approved. They both start to say as expected, thinking it was too much of a stretch. But then they realize he said approved. Jian asks him what he just said. June says now he understands how Dimim felt when he was messing with him, and apologizes, saying they'll be stuck with him for the next 3 years, and that they also obtained a club room for free. Jian says his tone scared him, and Suna sighs out of relief while June laughs. He looks over towards Jin-hee, noting that she's a member, but he doesn't need to tell her right now, as he'll feel bad waking her when she's asleep, though it's definitely not because he's scared. They go up to the 5th floor to see their room, and they're all surprised to find it locked. Jian says they should have expected this and suggests they ask the teacher for the keys. June says the teacher probably already left. Jian notes that the official start of club activities is tomorrow anyway, so it's unfortunate, but they'll have to go back soon as sad because she wanted to see the club room. A window appears and June glances down at it, asking if He'd like to open the club room. As they both leave a little sad, they hear the door open and turn around, and June wonders how he's going to explain this. He tells them the doorknob was just a little worn out, and he turned it really hard, and it opened. They are instantly excited, and they enter the room, turning on the lights. Seeing a table with 7 chairs. They're all surprised that the room hasn't been used in years, yet the inside is extremely clean. Jen still can't believe they have such a nice room, saying June must be quite resourceful to get all of this as a new student. June laughs, saying he was just lucky. He glances back down towards the system window and sees that the club management system is now unlocked. Saying he expected this much, he decides to check it out, raising his finger to open it. There are 4 options: a status window for the club, manage members, and club settings, also shop, but it's locked. He sees that the club can level up, needing 100 points to do so, and that he can apply an ability to the club. He wants to test it out right away, but since he doesn't know what will happen, he decides to do it when no one else is around. He clicks on manage members to see they also have a leveling system, saying he thought it was game like before, but now it really makes it surreal. He sees Jinhee's name, saying he expected her to be here, but there's a new name, Jang Hoon. He wonders who this is, guessing she was assigned to the club by the school, and that the system probably just treats her like a member. He decides what to do and clicks on the name, reading out Suna's stats, noting it's the same stats he saw before, and originally the target had to be in front of him. He thinks this is pretty good. It seems like a lot was added because his understanding increased, and he decides to check it out later at home. He wants to look at the store as well, but since it's locked until he reaches level 5, he realizes he needs to level up. Since it takes 100 points to increase his level, he would need to defeat the laughing woman 4 times, which seems quite AIDS. Suna calls out to him, asking what activity they'll be doing tomorrow. Ji-yeon's curious too, asking if he's thought of something. June says tomorrow they'll tell each other all the scary stories they know, share information, and establish each their tastes and familiarity with ghost stories, saying that shouldn't be that bad. Suna's excited, and Ji-yeon can't wait to show off his ghost story knowledge. They all decide to head back home. It jumps to June's apartment, where he decides to look back at the window, saying he should check out the status window now that he's home. He opens Ji-yeon's profile, noticing there's a new explanation for his quirk and character. We learn that Ji-yeon is overwhelmingly narcissistic, holds his family status in high esteem, and is very confident and prideful about his knowledge. However, when he encounters something supernatural due to his sheltered lifestyle, he'll instantly panic. His understanding of Ji-yeon has now surpassed 50, allowing him to open the information about his quirk. He decides to do that, discovering that Ji-yeon's quirk is called the denial of reality, though its meaning is still unclear. He decides to check out Jinhee's profile but finds that, due to his understanding being 0, there's nothing he can do. He needs to interact with her more to learn about her. He clicks on Hoyin's profile, seeing it's the teacher from earlier, but he also can't click on anything because he has no understanding, so he needs to interact with her as well. Thinking it's about time to check out Suna's profile, he clicks on her name. He can now see her disposition and quirk, as his understanding has reached 50. We already know her disposition is low self-esteem, as she spent her entire childhood in a poor household. She's passive in all things and slow in making decisions. His understanding of her has now increased, and with it, he can now unlock her quirk, which is Yandere Uho. We hear a teacher slam the table, saying this country is a shit show, and that these days college entrance exams don't reflect national affairs and people don't know the importance of history. He says it's because they have the past that there is a future. As he keeps lecturing, June looks out the window, sighing, wondering when this class is going to end. He thinks that once it's over, it'll be lunchtime, and then this afternoon will be the first day of their actual club activities. He just wants this class to end already. The intercom starts to beep, signaling the end of class, and the students all jump up, ready to leave. The teacher tries to tell them it's not over yet, but he just sits there, depressed because they didn't listen. June notices everyone running around, thinking it must be because they're excited about club activities. He feels like in this kind of situation, someone always gets in trouble with the teachers. He then spots Demim drooling, super excited about the food today. June watches in disgust as Demim leaves, realizing this is why all the students are running. Later, we see a man delivering chicken to a girl, And June is surprised that can even have deliveries here. Jian tells him that their school really allows for student freedom during club activities. They mention that on Fridays delivery is fine, and Suna says she's jealous. June tells her that next time they can also order delivery and eat it in the club room, and they get excited about it. Dimim then calls out to June, asking if he enjoyed his lunch yet. June is surprised that Dimim ran over so fast, thinking lunch has been over for a while and wondering how many times Dimim refilled his plate. Dimim asks if they're going to the club room, and June says yes. Dimim says that means there's something he needs to tell them. June wonders what weird thing he's going to say this time. Dimim says right now, in that club room there's something vicious lurking about. That's why they'll probably need this. As he holds up a key, he explains that he was going to give it to them this morning but forgot, and tells them to have fun before walking away. Suna says that the door was already open, but agrees it's good because they'll have to lock the door. Back in the room, Suna goes first with her story. She says some hiker was climbing a mountain when he lost his way, so he spent the night in a cabin. In the cabin, there were many portraits of scary-looking faces, but when he woke up, he discovered there were no portraits, just a lot of windows. June says he sees, and Suna asks him how it was, but he doesn't say anything. Jian instantly starts his story. He says that divers have several taboos they have to keep to themselves besides some of the more obvious ones like never going into the ocean when it's raining. They have one taboo in particular that's very unusual: never touch an upright corpse. June and Suna both say they see. The stories continue throughout the day, with Suna and Jian swapping stories back and forth. Jian then asks June if he's going to tell a story or not. June apologizes, saying he actually doesn't know any. Jian sighs, saying he expected that somewhat, and if that's the case, why did June make this type of club? He says June doesn't know much about ghost stories, nor does he seem interested in them. June tries to explain, saying it's hard to explain, but he belongs to an experimental group. Jian asks what he means, and June says he doesn't know if Jian will believe him, but throughout his life, he's gone through a lot of weird things. He thought that if he researched more into these ghost stories, he'd be able to get to the root of the problem, which led him to create this club. Jian asks what exactly these weird things are, but June apologizes, saying he can't tell him. They all sit there in awkward silence, and Jian lets out a long sigh. He says, like he mentioned before, he lowered his standards and came to this school. Going along with June's ruse, he knows ghost stories better than June does, so wouldn't it be better if he were the club president? That was his initial thought, and it still is, but he gives June credit for his resourcefulness, so he acknowledges him as the club president. But it's difficult if June acts like this, without any intentions or plans, nor does it seem like he has any motivation. If that's the case, there's no reason for Jian to stay in the club. June sits there awkwardly, and Suna then calls out to them, saying that they exchanged stories for quite a while, but fifth period hasn't ended yet. Jian says he wonders why, and June asks if they haven't rung the bell yet. Then it hits him, and he stands up. Realizing it's too quiet, he looks out the windows, opening the curtain, noticing that it's club activities time, yet nobody is outside in the schoolyard, in the hallways, the gym, or any of the classrooms besides their classroom. As we see Heian, who's the only one left, sitting at her desk reading books. It jumps back to the empty school, and Suna says it's true. There's nobody out there. Jian also says there's no trace of anyone in the hallway either, asking if it's possible that there really isn't anyone here. June wonders if maybe school just ended early and tries to open the main screen, but nothing appears. He wonders why his status window isn't popping up, thinking he must have been swept into a ghost story again. He reaches into his pocket, saying he's never encountered something like this before. He looks down at his phone, surprised, and asks them if they could check their phones too. Jian is confused and asks why, but does it anyway, and so does Suna with her ancient flip phone. They all see that it's still lunchtime. They start walking in the hallway, thinking it's not impossible. Maybe there's an error in the local network or something. Suna asks if that means everyone else has already left. Jian says yes, they must have talked a lot longer than they thought. June thinks about it, saying that's not it. He's not sure about anything else, but the status window not popping up definitely means this is a strange phenomenon, and he's certain he's been swept up in a ghost story. But he wonders how to explain this to them. Even if he mentions a status window, they wouldn't believe him. Honestly, he wouldn't even believe himself. They open the door to their classroom, and Jian is surprised as they all see Hyun sitting there, like we saw before, reading her book. June sees her, wondering if she didn't join the book club, so he calls out to her, saying he recognized her as Suna's partner. She turns around and closes her book, asking what he needs. June nervously turns around because he can't talk to women, and he asks if she knows where everyone when she says it's club activities period, and they're probably in their own club rooms. June tells her they just came down from there, as there was nobody on the 5th floor where the clubs are. She's confused, and he elaborates, telling her nobody else is at school. June tells her that's why they're planning on going home, asking what she plans to do. She makes a very suspicious expression, and June panics, saying that's a very difficult expression to understand. He turns back and both Jian and Suna freeze up as well, and Suna offers that they all go together. Hyun thinks about it and then smiles, saying if her partner tells her to do so, she will. We see them all walking in the club and she says yes, asking how he knew. He says he thought it might be the case, it was actually the status window that told him. She tells him it's impressive that he could tell, but mentions she was rejected. He says the competition must have been fierce. She says guess, so they continue walking in awkward silence, and June cringes because he doesn't know what to say. Since he's from an all-boys middle school, he's barely spoken with girls, and it's been the same after Regression, though he seems to ignore Suna. He pokes Jian, telling him to bring up a topic, and Jian sweats nervously, then clears his throat and says, "You don't catch a cold because you are cold. Rather, in the North Pole the cold virus doesn't exist." Hyun says she didn't know that June regrets asking him to say something because he doesn't know what the hell Jian just said. He thinks Jian was supposed to do something about the awkwardness, yet now he's just ruining the mood. June can't wait for this to be over with. They finally make it to the gate, and June lets out a sigh of relief, asking Hyun which way she's going, saying they should all split up here. She goes to tell him, and then the entire area starts to shake. June turns, surprised, as they all look up into the sky to see it starting to have a purple hue. All of their hearts start to sink, and June is confused, wondering why the Demon King is here at this time as they see it over them. A fighter jet flies in, deploying a missile directly at the Demon King. A bright light appears as it explodes in front of them all, leaving only the mushroom cloud behind. They just nuked him. It jumps back to the teacher slamming the podium, saying this is why their country is a shit show. June is surprised, and the teacher continues the same lecture he did last time, word for word. June begins to panic, realizing that he's regressed. He was worried because the status window wasn't working, but the regression activated normally. He wonders what sort of ghost story this is, why the Demon King, who was only supposed to appear on graduation, appeared now. He looks over, thinking maybe John will know, but he's surprised as John is glaring back at him, sweating nervously. June starts to wonder if maybe the others do too, as we see Suna and Haein looking over with nervous expressions. Maybe for the first time ever, they've all regressed together. The intercom beeps, letting the students know that it's time to go. They all stand up, but the teacher tells them once more that class isn't over yet. As we see, only John, June, Haein, and Suna remain seated while Demon runs by the door, drooling over the food menu again. They all sit there in awkward silence because they've actually all regressed at the same time this time, together. June lets out a long sigh, saying that although he's regressed many times, at times like these, he should be sitting calmly and doing something. He stands up and tells the others they should go out and eat for now. We see the delivery man again, with the same girl getting her food once more. They are all walking in complete silence. June looks around, saying it makes sense. They probably don't understand the current situation. After all, Demon calls out to him, asking if he's eaten his lunch yet, and if he's maybe going straight to the club room. June says no, they are going to the classroom for now. Demon says surely they'll be going during club activities, and that means there is something he has to tell them all. June realizes he's repeating the same dialogue again, and Demon says right now in that club room, there is something vicious lurking about, but June tells him it's alright and that he's already handled it, saying goodbye. They all walk away, and Demon sighs, saying that is unfortunate. Back in the classroom, they all take a seat together. Suna asks June what they should do now. He says for now, they should just watch the situation in the classroom before everyone suddenly disappeared. It would be best to check whether they all went home or if there was a different reason. Jion asks what he is saying, insisting there's no way that the situation right now is reality, as his quirk denial of reality kicks in. He jumps up on the table and starts laughing maniacally, saying he's always wanted to do something like this. Before then, he starts bouncing from table to table like a frog, and they all watch as he continues laughing. Jion asks them what they are doing, saying they shouldn't just sit there watching, they should join in. Suddenly, the lights go out, which takes him by surprise, causing him to lose his footing and fall onto the floor. He starts rubbing the back of his head, and June quickly asks if he's okay. The intercom goes off once more, announcing from the broadcast room that the school is currently experiencing a blackout, so the electricity is not working due to this. All club activities will take place in the schoolyard, and all students are to gather there. June recognizes this, as Sana and Hyein wonder if they have to go out, but June yells, slamming the table, saying they can't. Jiyeon looks over and asks why he's acting this way, and why his face is so serious, and if he's caught on to something, but before he can finish, his head begins to swell up and explodes like a zit. They all watch in horror as their own heads begin to swell up, popping like zits, killing them. It jumps back again to the teacher slamming the desk, repeating the same speech as the last 2 times. When he reaches the future part, June stands up, telling his teacher that he has to go to the bathroom in the men's room. He cuts the sink on and lets out a long sigh, saying he didn't think the broadcast ghost story would appear again like this, and he can't seem to figure out what's going on. He wonders how he should begin approaching this and opens the door to see Sana and Hyein waiting outside. He asks why they came, and Sana nervously starts to say something, but Hyein finishes, saying they've noticed that he's been strangely calm about this from the beginning, almost as if he knows something. June begins to sweat, thinking that normally, most people would react like how Jiyeon did during the club activities. However, since everyone has already experienced strange phenomena twice, they might be able to accept his story now, no matter how unreasonable it may seem. He gulps and then begins to tell them about what's happened so far. June tells them that he's experienced situations like this several times before. During the club activities period, when he mentioned being part of the experiential group, he was referring to situations like this. Sana then asks if that means he knows what they have to do right now. June shakes his head, saying no, truthfully, he doesn't know much about this either. The only thing he's certain about is that even if they die, they return to the past, and that ghost stories are becoming a part of reality. Sana looks worried. The intercom begins to beep again, and June looks up, telling them that it's time to go. Sana asks where. He says if they want to solve their current situation, they need to know what ghost story they are caught up in, and they need Jiyeon. Back in the classroom, the bell rings to let all the students out, and they start running, singing that it's lunchtime and today's menu has donkatsu. June comments on how the hallways are always packed, and then Demim appears behind him, striking a pose like in Jajas. He says he's going to the bathroom and asks June if he's not going to lunch. Demim says since they'll be going to the club room after they eat, he should take this, putting something in his hand. June looks down at it, wondering why Demim just gave him a butt plug. He goes to call out to Demim, who laughs, telling him to use it well, and then starts running away for lunch. June realizes this is different from the previous times, wondering why. Maybe it's because they met in a different location, or maybe it's due to the influence of a ghost story. For now, he decides to hold on to the item. He says that Jiyeon should still be in the classroom, and Sana agrees, saying he probably is since he was just sitting there with his hands over his head. June comments that the shock must have been immense, thinking that Jiyeon's mental is weaker than Sana's. He opens the door, calling out to Jiyeon, but is surprised to see the laughing woman standing there, staring at the ceiling. He hoped that wasn't the case, but now she's appeared out of nowhere. However, it seems like the kids in the classroom haven't noticed her presence yet. June turns, wondering about Sana and Hyein. Sana asks why he's not heading in yet. He clenches his fist, telling himself not to wuss out. He's already beaten her once, so for now, the strategy is to absolutely pretend not to have seen her. He sees Jiyeon with his hands over his face and calls out to him, but Jiyeon doesn't respond. June thinks about it, then puts his hand on Jiyeon's shoulder, telling him to get his shit together and to listen up because this is real life. They need his ghost story knowledge. Jiyeon asks what he's talking about, and June says it's too long to explain, but right now they're caught up in a ghost story. He tells him to think about why all 4 of them turned back time when they died, why the entire school disappeared, and even why the clock stopped. He tells Jiyeon to think about it, saying that what they're experiencing now is the weird thing he talked about during the club activities period. He should know by now that this isn't a dream or whatever. Jiyeon looks overwhelmed, asking what kind of weird-ass ghost story this is. June thinks about it, then asks Jiyeon if he knows something about it, reaching into his pocket and pulling out Damim's item. Jiyeon looks down at it, confused, wondering what it is. June says he doesn't know either, but it might be an important clue regarding the situation. Jiyeon then realizes something and begins to laugh. June asks him if he thought of something, But Jiyeon tells him that he was wrong from the very beginning and that this time, he should figure it out by himself, saying he's the president after all. June asks what he's talking about, but then the laughing woman begins to do her thing. June and the rest turn around to see she's directly behind them now. Sana is confused, but during their moment of distraction, the laughing woman instantly lobs their heads off with her box cutter, launching them across the room. She continues to laugh as June watches nervously. June grabs onto Jiyeon, telling him to spit it out, saying not to joke around and that this situation isn't a game. He knows Jiyeon must know something. Jiyeon tells him to prove himself as we see the laughing woman leaping at him from behind. He also gets his head cut off and Jiyeon tells him to try and prove himself and prove that he has the right to stay above him. Back again to the lecture from the teacher, June sits there with his head in his hands, wondering what the hell Jiyeon is thinking, telling him to prove himself. He wonders what Jiyeon wants him to do. He begins to feel very uneasy, realizing that Jiyeon noticed something, which means enough clues were present. The status window is inactivating, and the ghost stories he's cleared before are reappearing. There's no way there would be a ghost story like that. Then he realizes something, thinking he is yet to explain to Jiyeon what happened in detail. He hasn't mentioned the incidents he's already been through or the status window. That means this ghost story has nothing to do with that, and he needs to think from Jiyeon's perspective. June decides to see it from the perspective as somebody who is not a knower. Something clicks. June suddenly stands up in the middle of the lecture. The teacher calls out to him. As he walks up, June tells Jiyeon that this place isn't reality, and Jiyeon asks him what it is then. June says this is a dream, except for him, Sana, and Haein. All of this is fake. Sana and Haein are confused, and Jiyeon asks him if he can prove it. June says yes. The teacher then tells June to return to his seat, saying no matter how much he dislikes class, he shouldn't call this a dream. June then asks the teacher what time it is. The teacher responds, saying it's obviously 316,580 o'clock. Sana and Haein are surprised, and Jiyeon sits there smirking as the teacher says, "Ah, I was caught." Jiyeon explains it's called a reality check. It's a method used to determine whether or not you're in a dream. Normally, when you're in a dream, you aren't able to notice strange things happening. That's because the brain's recognition is inaccurate. This phenomenon is most noticeable when it comes to numbers. The time definitely stopped at 11:35, and once you cover the numbers like this and take your hands off, the number changes to 573. Sana says the numbers really did change. Jiyeon explains, in a dream, the emotional flow feels the same as reality, but anything mathematical becomes inaccurate. June then asks, even if that's the case, why are all the other students acting like this? As they are just glaring at them. Jiyeon says he wonders, adding that he did hear when you mention to people within a dream that they are in one, they will glare back at you with scary expressions. Maybe this is their subconscious reflecting scary images. June says he wonders. Then Sana asks him how he realized this was a dream. He asks her if she remembers the first club activities period. She says yes. He says if you think about it, that was when things started getting weird. Even though it was their first meeting, the teacher in charge of their club never showed up, and besides the three of them, they have another member, but she didn't show up either. Sana says and Haein then asks about the fact that time turns back when they die. June says this is a dream within a dream, like the movie Inception, asking Jiyeon if he's correct. Jiyeon says exactly, it's a common ghost story. You think you've woken up from a dream, but you're still within one. It might even be a phenomenon that anyone could encounter normally. The most surefire method of waking up from a dream is dying. But in our case, every time we die, we wake up from the dream, then repeat it. June then asks what the solution is. Jiyeon is confused, and June says it's a common ghost story, so surely there is some sort of solution. Jiyeon thinks about it, saying, there isn't some general method to solve it. While wandering through the nightmares, I woke up. It's usually something along those lines. There are cases where people thought they woke up and lived decades of their life before waking up and realizing it was all a dream. June starts to get PTSD flashbacks and says, that's the worst. Jiyeon agrees. June then says before anything else, surely Jiyeon has something to say to him. Jiyeon recalls telling June to prove himself and apologizes for forcing his sense of pride to act on its own. Honestly, my tone was really lame, and I wouldn't have anything to say even if you hit me. June tells him, you were right, and Jiyeon sees June starting to take his jacket off, putting it behind him, telling him to take his glasses off. June says he just wants to give him one good hit. We see it from a side angle now, and Jiyeon is just surprised, asking what he means. Even Suna is confused. Jiyeon starts to sweat nervously but takes them off, saying if it helps lessen his anger. Then sure, Suna asks if he's really going to hit him. Then June clenches his fist, telling him that he's actually doing this. He then punches forward, and Jiyeon closes his eyes out of fear. But after a bit, there's nothing, and he wonders what's going on. He opens them, only to get flicked in the forehead. He asks what is going on, and June sticks his hands out, telling him that he wants to stop childishly testing each other like this. They're in the same club together, so he wants to get along with him. Jiyeon is surprised but laughs it off, saying, "Bet, bro. This is how homies are made on cue." A little later, a ghost walks by the room, saying that with their rotten state of mind, they really need to have a kid of their own who's just like them. She continues walking by the room, and Suna calls out to June, but he tells her to be quiet, saying it's a ghost, and he'll explain it later. She says okay. And June says that he thought they were appearing one at a time. This must be a reflection from his memories, and he can tell that it's a dream again. The other students are also glaring at them, low-key freaking him out. Jiyeon then asks June what he thinks, and June asks what he means. Jiyeon says the solution to this situation is setting up some sort of measures. June has no idea, saying even if he asks him, he doesn't know. Jiyeon says that he thinks if it's him, he'll definitely be able to cook something up. June asks why he's so confident in him, and Jiyeon says that he's the type of person who simply takes in any given information and uses that alongside a bit of reasoning to work things out. That's why, when June asks questions about some of the missing parts of the ghost stories, he always ends up flustered. They are blind spots to the story that you can't think of by only considering what you know, and if it's June, he thinks he can for sure cook it up. June says that he thought he was just a bundle of pride, but it seems that once he acknowledges someone, he's really cool about it. First, they have most of the information they need, even the fact that this ghost story is about a dream within a dream. Inception type shit. June says that if it's him, he can do it, and starts thinking about the blind spot. Then he realizes something, asking what will happen if they go backwards. Jiyeon asks what he means, and he says right now, each time they die, they're waking up from a dream. He's saying they should do the opposite and go deeper into the dream by going to sleep. Han and Sana are both surprised by this answer, and June says that he mentioned it, that these types of ghost stories tend to have endings where they just happen to wake up while walking around, and that could be it. The people involved were so exhausted trying to get out that they subconsciously fell back asleep. Jiyeon is surprised, and June continues, saying if they are going to be within the dream, and if they wake up anyway, they might as well try to dig deeper into it. Jiyeon says that's definitely persuasive and it's worth a try rather than continuously dying and waking up. Sana asks if they're serious, saying that means they have to sleep here with all their classmates staring at them, with their eyes all hella creepy, and walking the hallways is another freaky-ass ghost. Jiyeon says unless they have sleeping pills, it'll be difficult to fall asleep for sure. June says they could just do something like this, and he's talking about the popular fainting game. If they make each other faint by choking one another, then it might work. Jiyeon tells him that definitely is not it, and June asks what he means. Jiyeon says that while it's dangerous, fainting is different from sleeping. People don't dream when they faint. June asks if he's serious, and Jiyeon says that the method he mentioned before happens when blood flow to the brain is blocked with the lack of oxygen. The brain won't work properly, so it's different from normal sleep. There are stories of dreaming in that state, but it's usually just a hallucination they see briefly before fainting. June wonders what to do now, but Haein speaks up, saying there is a way. He wonders what it is, and she says the main point is that they just need to go to sleep, and that they can definitely achieve that. It jumps to a few minutes later, and June is just surprised, wondering what in the world is happening. He wonders why he is now with a female classmate. Exchanging breaths through a recorder, he looks at Haein while sweating nervously, and she smiles at him. He wonders if he is still dreaming. We get a flashback to her saying that the main point is they just need to sleep, and they just need to induce a low oxygen state. June asks what she's talking about, saying that Jiyeon just told them that fainting won't work. Jiyeon, though, says he understands, saying that there are a lot of accidents caused by sleepiness on highways. While there are several reasons, one of them is due to the lack of oxygen within a sealed space. Unlike when they stop the blood flow from reaching their brains, this isn't fainting, it's closer to a state of sleep. June is surprised, and we see them put a locker down on the ground. June says that was low-key heavy, and Suna asks if they just have to get inside and sleep in it. Jiyeon says that about 2 of them can fit in there. Haein opens the door, asking June if he can get some tape, and it should be on the podium shelf. He says okay and goes to grab it. She then tells both Suna and Jiyeon to get ready to get in, and she'll block off the gaps from outside. They agree, and Jiyeon heads in first. Meanwhile, June is in the podium desk, searching for the tape. He sees Scotch tape, but not the other tape, and wonders where it is. Then he notices someone approaching him, and the dude, in a very monotone voice much like my own, haha, says, "The tape is right here." June says that he's sure this is their class president and wonders what his name was, asking if it was Ban Jang-hun. June thanks him, wondering why he's helping him. Since it's a dream, it's hard to tell. He then tells Haein that he's got it and hands it over. She starts ripping it off, putting it on the cracks of the locker, and eventually they finish. He says that's it, and he thinks they've blocked all the gaps. She says they have, and he asks what they have to do now, wondering if they have to go to the class next door. She says that since the ghost is wandering around outside, it's dangerous, and even if that weren't the case, they should all stick close together. Someone has to remain behind to protect the ones who are sleeping. June says that she's right, because if they die, they go back to the start. She tells him to lay down, and he asks what she means. She says that since they just need to breathe in air with low oxygen content from this point on, she's gonna blow her air into him using this recorder. She tapes it up, then bites off the excess, and that is how we got to where we are now. He wonders if he's dreaming or not. Of course, it is within a dream, but she puts the other end of the recorder on his lips, saying that he can't just breathe in the air, he needs to breathe in the air she lets out. And when the recorder comes off, he should only let out his breath, asking if he understands. He starts to blush, as she starts to lightly blow into the recorder. He starts breathing it in, saying that her air is really warm, which makes him feel like he's becoming a balloon. He's starting to feel his mind getting hazy, wondering why he's doing this again. He says that he's not really sure what's happening, and Haein starts to laugh. He wonders what's making her laugh so much, and she takes her mouth off the recorder, smiling and calling him a pervert while staring down at him. He keeps staring at her and begins to lose consciousness. Then he wakes up, and we see them back inside of the budget McDonald's. Jaeyeon asks if they understand. The point is, it's nothing but a false rumor that hamburgers are bad for their health. In fact, it's a perfect food with bread, lettuce, tomatoes, and more, showing he is fluent in Japanese. And it has pretty much everything they need. He says that saying it's bad because of additives is just dumb, and that the country is being swayed by propaganda. His face then distorts for a second, and he starts repeating his words. Then he goes back to normal, saying that if you take away the fries and the Coke, a burger is healthy. June says he understands while gonna chow down, but then looks over, spotting Suna putting on makeup. He realizes that this is bad news and stands up, yelling, "This is a dream." Suna asks what he means, and so does Jaeyeon, asking what he's doing so suddenly. June tells them to lock in, they just entered a dream from another dream. They're both surprised, and Jaeyeon says that's right, since dreams always seem to start from the middle of something. He never noticed. Suna wonders why she's even putting on makeup. Of course, it's June's fault because he still thinks of her more as a woman than a friend. Anyway, with this, now they can see a little bit of hope. They just need to go deeper into the dreams. June says, as expected, this place has no clues either, but because it's a dream, it's a relief there are no employees. Jaeyeon says that he's right, and in this situation, it would be easier for them to fall asleep here. He then heads over to the gas line, saying that he's going to be cutting it now, and once they breathe it in, they should fall unconscious, and he'll move the two of them out of the kitchen. They agree, but Suna looks worried, saying that surely it would be better for Jaeyeon to go instead of her, because even if she goes, she won't be of much help. Jaeyeon sighs, saying that his role ends here. The only thing he can do is say what facts he knows, but he's not the type to solve things on the fly in the field. Also, the ghost might come out again, and rather than her being all alone, it would be better if it were him. There might be a need to get physical. She realizes he's right and says yeah. Jaeyeon says, of course, if the next dream also doesn't have any clues, she should help June to the next dream, asking if she understands. She says yes, and Jaeyeon then tells him to make sure he takes care of things. June says that he'll be back shortly. Jaeyeon puts the scissors up to the pipe and cuts it. June wakes back up outside, and is surprised to see what's in front of him. It's none other than everybody forming rows inside of the school courtyard. Both he and Suna recognize it, as the principal starts speaking over the mic, saying that to the newly admitted students, of which he loves, he welcomes them, and he congratulates them on being admitted to the school. June calls out to Suna as the principal continues his speech. Introducing himself, June turns, telling her that she needs to run SAP, as the principal's head just swells like a balloon, exploding, sending his thoughts all across the ground. June grabs onto her hand and starts running while we see Jin Hee still just standing there, staring at the dude's think juice. Suna is surprised, asking why he's doing this, and June tells her not to look back. They need to escape the school quickly, just like he did before. He yells, calling for the security guard, waking him up. The guard runs out of his little room, asking what's the commotion about during the entrance ceremony, and June points towards him, yelling, telling everybody that he's the one with the key, and they need to take it and open the main gate. The guard freezes up, and they start pestering the hell out of him, asking for the key, eventually pushing him back into his room. June says this is going all according to plan. Now they just need to bring Suna outside. He turns, telling her that they should use this opening to quickly go, but she's not behind him at all, and he wonders where she went at this time. He then looks over to his left, spotting her running away. Realizing she's been dragged into all this chaos now, he tries to yell, telling her that it's dangerous to go over there and to come back, but then he spots something. As she's reaching into one of her pockets, she pulls out a pair of box cutters and runs past everybody, directly towards the security guard, who's telling everyone to get the hell off of him and asking if they've gone crazy. She leaps up off the ground, raising the box cutter into the air, and she starts to give off some crazy Yandere eyes as she stabs the dude, sending blood flying everywhere. We see she cut off one of his fingers. He starts screaming about his hand, and June wonders what she just did. She then comes out of the crowd, gassed out with blood on her hands, saying that she's brought the key. June says good job, asking what just happened, but before she can tell him, he hears students screaming from behind as they run away from getting their heads exploded. He says that there's a lot he wants to ask her, but now is not the time for that. Sometime later, we see them downtown, both catching their breath right by the McDonald's. He says that for now, if they've come this far, it should be okay, and they need to find a place to sleep quickly. Since they are right outside the McDonald's from Taimu, he decides to head in, and now it's actually full of people. He says that this time, it will be difficult to fall asleep using the gas. Suna says yeah, and the employees are here too. June says that it's an unusual request but asks if she can help. She asks what with, and they head up to the second floor. We see her blowing into a straw with him on the other side. They're both leaning over a table. He's trying to mimic what happened last time. He says even though it's the same situation, the feeling it gives off is not even remotely close to how it felt with Heian, and that it just shows that they aren't the same. Everybody else in the restaurant is looking at them, confused, and a woman covers her daughter's eyes as we still see Suna doing her best, blowing into the straw. June starts to chuckle and then bursts into full-blown laughter, and we see her gassed out, asking what's wrong. He says if he tells her it was because her expression was funny, he would get in trouble, and he tries to come up with an excuse, but she also starts to laugh, saying that even though they're in this weird situation, she has a friend who is with her, and they can laugh together. She then closes her eyes, saying that once this is over, she wants to come here together and have food. June is surprised but agrees, saying that he would be down. A waitress then approaches them, saying that she's afraid they're going to have to leave, as they've received some complaints. June realizes that his request was a bit odd, and they leave. We see them in a bathroom stall, and she asks if this is really okay. He says they have no choice, as it will be difficult for them to find a good location, and if they want to avoid people, this is the only place. She says that's not what she's talking about, reminding him that they are in the men's bathroom. He apologizes, and we see her looking nervous, but he says that him going to the women's bathroom is a bit odd. He then starts to poke a hole into the bottom of a paper cup, saying that the straw was too difficult, so he brought this, saying surely she knows he wants to try what they did a minute ago. Then she'll breathe out into the paper cup and he'll be breathing it in. She starts to twirl her hair. Looking nervous, he says that he's ready, and he puts it up to his mouth. She hesitates for a second but then starts to tuck her hair behind her ear, getting close and doing exactly that. By breathing into the cup, June's consciousness starts to fade out. He feels as if he's underwater, and that he is having a hard time breathing. He says everything is hazy, and he wonders where he is. His body feels like it's floating, but it is low-key incredibly comfortable. He hears somebody speaking, but he can't make out what they're saying. Though he recognizes it as his mother's voice, he says he was wondering about this, but thinks that this place could be the inside of his mother's belly. Every time he died, he went back in time to when he received severe trauma, starting from when history class started in period 4, to the nightmare of the day he fought the laughing woman, to the entrance ceremony when he first encountered a ghost story, and his very first trauma, which would be birth. He wonders if all the incidents so far were so stressful that they were comparable to being born. He wonders what to do now, saying if he manages to fall asleep here, he thinks it will be over, but he can't think of anything else. He wonders if he should strangle himself with this umbilical cord and puts it around his throat, saying just enough so he doesn't die. He waits a second, and nothing happens. He takes it off, saying that there's no way this would work, and not to mention, that would be fainting. He then says now that he thinks about it, babies sleep all day, and he wonders if an unborn baby would be any different, so he just needs to fall asleep normally. He starts to empty his thoughts, relaxing his body, trying his best to fall asleep, and he feels his consciousness sinking further and further down. We see the embryo shrinking further and further until the water transitions into a beautiful sky out on a grassy field. Somebody says something to him, but he can't make it out. Then he starts to wake up. We see him staring up at the ceiling, but outside of the bathroom stall the cops are there, and Sana looks hella nervous as someone says they saw a high school couple in there, banging on the door, telling them to come out, asking what they were doing. Sana looks hella nervous, asking what to do, but June, still lost in thought, says that he thought he met someone. It was someone he was very glad to see, and he felt like they had a very important conversation, and he needs to remember. However, as time passes, his consciousness becomes clearer, and the dream becomes hazier, and he's starting to wake up. He then grabs onto her hand, which startles her, and she asks if he's finally awake. He readies himself and says that they should go back to reality. She's still scared about the situation, but is ready to do it. Back at the McDonald's from Taimu, the entire building begins to shake, and John realizes this, wondering what's going to happen next. June then opens his eyes and sits up, which startles him. He asks what happened and if he succeeded. June says that they did, and they're in the middle of waking up right now. John says finally, but he has something to tell him. He was thinking very deeply while he was waiting, and he remembered how they all fell asleep like this at the same time in reality. June says he can't believe he didn't think about this before, asking how it happened. John says to look forward to the answer, saying it's quite amusing and he'll be surprised. John laughs, wondering what it could be, as the entire area starts to crack and fragment. Finally, reality shifts, as if it were glass breaking apart, slowly fragmenting away as we see the dream shatter, and he wakes up on the floor. He hears the ghost teacher outside, and the locker door opens with both Suna and John coming out of it. June asks where Heian went and if she was hiding somewhere. John says this is the last stop, and now they're really returning to reality, as yet again it starts to rumble and crack like last time. June says he's feeling hella anxious, wondering if they are all just a part of his dream and if this is just his imagination. They both stare at him for a second, and John sighs, saying that hell just have to pray that it isn't the case. Suna says she'll see him in a bit. Once more, reality fragments and cracks, and John says that he remembers now how he got knocked out. He's sure that they were on their way to the club room after having lunch. When Demon gave them the key, he told them to have fun and walked away even though the door was already open. They still needed it to lock it. John got a pop-up from a status window, and he looks down at it to briefly see that it mentioned the goddess of luck and strength ability, and that the system was adjusting, but it faded away very quickly, and he starts to feel very anxious, wondering what exactly it meant. We see all the students lined up, and the three of them arrive. June asks what the deal is with the line being so long. John says it's probably the book club and they have some influence, plus it's very comfortable there. June says he's pretty envious of that, saying surely they can share some of their members. Sana laughs nervously. We then hear Smo calling out to him, and when he looks to the side, he sees him, wondering what he wants. Smo asks about the club he mentioned yesterday, wondering if there's still an empty spot. June says yes, but thought he was going to join the anime club. Smo says that a situation came up. June wonders if he maybe failed the interview or something, But there's no reason for him to reject him, so he says that Hell put his name on the so they can go to the club room together. Smo answers in Japanese and starts to pog out of his gourd because brother is a weeb. He jumps into the air as Haeun comes out of the room. She looks to her side, only to see his gut as he knocks her books over, and the books start to fly towards them. June then realizes that it was a straight coincidence as he tries to catch the book on reflex. He slips on the floor, since someone just happened to clean excessively. His foot just happens to hit John directly in the chin, and John's arm then smacks Suna straight in the face. Just like that, they were all entangled as if they were part of some slapstick comedy. While the impact itself wasn't hard enough to make them faint, they just happened to perfectly make each other fall asleep due to a lack of oxygen. I'm pretty sure Haeun died. And that's how, by pure coincidence, they all fell asleep together. June's skill has been completely consumed and disappeared, and he has come across and survived the Brank ghost story, Dream Within Dreams, earning 15 points since he showed great wit and repelled the ghost. He earned an extra 70. And since he receives an extra 10 bonus points for each club member who contributed, he got an extra 17, adding to the 85 he gained. It starts doing a bunch of math, showing that he now has 200 plus points. Now he has earned enough points, and he can gain another ability or unlock the abilities of his classmates. They head to the club room, and June says that now, since everybody is here, he would like to start. We even see Jin-hee and Smo, and he says it's time to get started, welcoming them all to the Ghost Story Club. June says now they'll begin their first meeting with introductions. He introduces himself first, saying that he is an only child, and he's the club president of the Ghost Story Club, hoping they'll take good care of him. Jion does his as well, saying that he knows a lot about ghost stories, and he continues yapping until June cuts him off, saying, "Next person." Suna only introduces herself, doesn't say anything about herself, just tells them to take care of her. Haeun introduces herself, saying that she applied for the book club but was rejected. Jin-hee only says her name. Smo speaks a whole lot of cringe and says he was originally going to apply for the anime club, but starts to think about how it went down, realizing it was just a trap for them to make fun of him. Haeun introduces herself, saying that her family happens to be from a shaman household, so she thought this club would suit her. They're all surprised by that. It then jumps to McDonald's from Taemu. Jion says the teacher seems like a good person, and since she's from a shaman household, he thinks they'll hear a lot of stories from her. Suna says, speaking of clubmates, she found Jin-hee scary at first, but she is actually an impressive and nice person. She's already working part-time jobs, which is why she's always asleep in school. June starts eating his food, saying that with this, he's kept his promise. Jion asks what he means, and he says that in the dream, he promised Suna that they would eat hamburgers here together. We see her laughing, and Jion thinks about it, saying that when he mentioned he was part of an experiential group, he meant that he's already experienced something like this, like that dream within a dream several times before. June says yes, asking if he finally believes him. Jion says he's experienced it personally now, so there's no way he wouldn't, and he wants to hear about the things he's been through in detail. Suna then says she has something to say, asking what will happen if they're still in a dream right now, and says maybe because they came to the same location as that dream. She's just a bit paranoid. Jion tells her that it definitely isn't the case, so not to be worried. Telling her to take a look, he slides his phone over to her and starts spinning it around. It comes to a stop, and he says that since it came to a stop, and because a person's subconscious has a tendency to keep things connected and going rather than having them stop, once something starts spinning in a dream, it's very rare for it not to. June says that he saw that shit from Inception, and Jion says the top they see in the movie uses the concept to determine if the main character is in a dream, and they call those types of contraptions totems. The reason he realized they were in a dream was because of the thing June showed him. June says that now that he thinks about it, that means that the homeroom teacher handing the item over in the dream was like a lesson or a symbol for learning. Jion says he has no clue what he's yapping about, and if they try to consider each and every detail, it's going to be endless, so they should just eat. They agree, and after a bit, June is on his way back home, thinking about that ability that he used. He says, by coincidence, the four of them fell asleep together, and thanks to that, they all got screwed over in their dreams. Yet that was considered good luck. He wonders what he obtained through this incident, and if he considers the good points, Hyun called him a pervert, but there's no way that was what was considered strength luck. The thing that changed since going through all of this was that Smo and Hyun joined their club, He feels like even if this didn't happen, Smo would have joined anyway, so in the end, this is about Hyun, and he wonders if her becoming a member is really incredible luck. He says it must be because she's pretty. He opens the club management window and starts to inspect Hyun's status window. The title is called Wife Material, but his understanding is too low, and he needs to interact with her more to increase it. He's surprised by this, saying they spent so much time together in a life or death situation, but it barely increased as it is only 5 out of 100. Her disposition is a question mark, but it says she likes books. He says that he thought he knew quite a lot about her, wondering if he was the only one who thought that, and this is disappointing. He decides to ignore it for now, wondering what else he could consider good luck. Going through the ghost story together with the club members might have been it. Then he realizes something, saying that Jiyeon would normally have never believed his story, and now he believes him truly. By having encountered the ghost story with all 3 of them, he's earned allies who he can share these events with. The skill was much better than he originally thought, and he should quickly earn more points and pull better skills. He then thinks about it, saying that he's pretty sure that leveling up the club is also possible, and no one should be in the club room right now, so he wants to go back to the school and test it. Out he heads back, and we see Dimim asking if he hasn't gone home yet. June is caught off guard, and tells him that he was going to visit the club room for a moment. Dimim says that he's jealous, and it would be great if teachers had a place to relax like that too. June says he thought he had the teacher's lounge, and Dimim says it doesn't seem like he understands that places like that are for the teachers who are social butterflies, and no one would welcome a fat old man like himself. June says he sees, and Dimim says enough about that, asking if he used the object he gave him well. June asks if he means the key, saying of course, and he is still using it. Dimim asks what he's talking about, saying that he's talking about the totem, saying surely he used it well. June is completely caught off guard, and Dimim walks away laughing, saying he'll see him next week, and he starts singing while going down the hallway. June is still trying to understand the situation, wondering if Dimim knew. He starts to think that maybe Dimim was in the dream with them as well, but he's sure it was only the 4 of them that crashed at that moment. He scratches his head, confused, saying that he has no idea, and he'll just head back to the club room quickly. As he heads there, it tells him that his club is level 1, and he may spend points to nurture it. He clicks on it, and then it asks if he would like to proceed with spending his points. He says, of course, and the club level up begins, and the number slowly increases from 17 out of 100 to 28 and so on until it finally reaches 100, giving a confetti notification saying that the club is now leveled up from 1 to level 2. June wonders what this means, and it explains that each time the Ghost Story Club levels up, he may distribute 1 ability point. It's using an ability currently, and he has 1 available. The skills are Ghost Story Acquisition, Manpower Capacity, or Space Expansion. He says he can't get a sense of what it means just from the words, and he thinks he'll know what it means by Space Expansion. With the increase in the number of members, he did think the room was a bit cramped, so this will be good. It tells him that the Space Expansion ability has been added to the club and that it's going to expand soon. In order to begin loading, he needs to please leave the room and close the door. He wonders if there's really a need for it to load, saying it's a bit odd. So he turns the knob and exits. Once he closes the door outside, it tells him that the club is now reloading and to wait a moment. The progress bar slowly goes up, and June's surprised because when he looks through the window he can't see a damn thing and it's all black. The progress bar continues until it says the club has been created. Once he enters, it looks mostly the same, but he says if no one mentions it, they might not recognize it. But it's definitely larger. The location of the window and the desk changed as well. If he uses all sorts of available abilities, it might be possible to fight against that Demon King bastard. He then says that he has something to do before he goes home. As he opens his status window, his first ability slot is now empty again, and he may use 100 points to open one. He says it's time to roulette his points for a chance. It jumps to 2 days later, and his mother asks if he wants to come shopping with her. Bro is coming off a hot loss streak in League, asking why Shed want him to go. She asks what means by why, saying that he needs to come hold the bags, and he realizes she's right. His father sits on the couch, saying that he shouldn't stay home and play games because it's the weekend, and he'll help his mother. She asks what he's talking about, saying that he needs to drive, and he also realizes she's right, like father like son. They head to the convenience store, and we see it's actually hella busy. June says the line is really long, and this is going to take over 10 minutes alone. He heads out, saying that he wonders if there's something to watch. He goes to the electronics section, like many of us have at Walmart, and starts looking around until he spots something, which is none other than Jin. He says he didn't expect to see him here, asking if he's here for groceries. He says yeah, and then we hear Jin's father ask if he's a school friend. While Jun is looking at them side by side, he also spots the mother, saying that he guesses glasses are hereditary in this family. And his understanding of Jin has increased by 10. He introduces himself, saying it's nice to meet them, and Jin's father asks how he knows him. Jin says that he's in the same class and he's the club president of their club. His father asks what club it is, and Jin hesitates for a minute trying to explain it, but Jun comes in with the slam dunk clutch, saying that it's the Folklore Ghost Story Research Club, and they research the traditional folklore and ghost stories that have been passed down throughout Korea. By peering into these stories, they look into the way their ancestor is used to live their lives. He can immediately tell that Jin's father is strict and stubborn, and it would be better to present the club in this way. Immediately he starts nodding for approval, and Jin's father says that it's interesting and all, but still seems a little disappointed about Jin's position. Jun realizes this and says that he's the acting president. The club has a chairman, and the acting president works beneath them, but they shorten the title and call him the club president. Jin's father asks what that means, and Jun says that Jin is actually the club chairman. He laughs and puts his hand on his son's shoulder, saying there's no way that his smart son would ever work under a club president, and he says that if he became the chairman of a club, he should have told him about it. Jin said he was sorry. It was because school was hectic as it was only the first week. Jun then says he'll be on his way, and Jin's family also heads off and he watches them. Jin turns back and starts to mutter something, but he's too far to hear. Jun's special ability lip reading activates, and it's pretty much Jin just glazing him up. This is how it introduces his new ability, lip reading, which he got the other day. Jun's father then comes up behind him, and Jun asks if they finished ringing up their groceries. He says it's almost their turn, and he's happy to hear about the club he mentioned, asking if he created it because of the thing we're talking about when his mother went full schizo. Jun says that's right, and he thought he needed to find out more about it. He says he's sorry that he doesn't know anything about these things, but if there's anything Jun needs, to let him know. Jun laughs, thanking him. His mother asks where they went, and Jun says they were just looking around. We hear Jun's post-narrator thoughts, saying he didn't know at that time, but the ghost stories that he thought would only appear to him were slowly encroaching upon all of Korea. I don't know what it's foreshadowing, but we see some dude jamming up to some K-pop or something on the train. Later that night, a woman from the group wakes up sometime later at school. We hear Jun saying hello to Suna, saying that she seems to have come early today. She says yes while laughing awkwardly. And he also greets Haein, who waves at him. He then hears that song we heard on the subway and looks over to see some people talking about it. Wish bro would buy some damn earbuds. Jun says they're quite energetic this morning and that it's closer to being noisy. And now that he thinks about it, it's been a while since he's heard that song. And that the forensis in his past life was trending around this time as well, and he thinks this was their debut song. As the song continues, he says that the chorus is literally meaningless. But then he waits a second and realizes that they sound a little off, wondering if this is how they've always been. After class, we see John sighing, saying that this is so comfortable, and he's so glad that the clubroom is relaxed. Suna looks around, spotting something, saying that the clubroom seems to be a bit larger. John says he thinks it's the same, and Haein says the same thing. Suna says that she definitely doesn't think so and that the space has increased. Fortunately for Jun, only she noticed. Maybe it's because she's used to living in a small space, but she's more sensitive to changes in the room size. And now his understanding has increased by 10. He says thanks to the dream within dream story, he was able to reveal his secret to a certain extent. But the fact that he regressed through years and the system is something else entirely. And he's sure that the day he can tell them everything will come. John starts to yawn, saying that he's going to take a nap and to wake him up when the lunch break ends. They say okay, and Haein and Suna sit down as Haein starts reading a book. Jun decides to open the clubroom status window, and we see that the store function is still locked, and he will unlock it when the club reaches level 5. He says he doesn't know what sort of function it has, but it should involve purchasing things using points, and he hopes to sell stuff like furniture that would be too expensive to purchase with an allowance. Then he can widen the clubroom and put in a sofa or something, and he could totally make a base out of this area. and he says he wishes Friday would come quickly. On cue, Friday arrives, and he's in the music room. And the teacher is telling everybody to go one octave higher as they start singing. Trying to harmonize, June just wonders why time is moving so slowly. The teacher then notices, asking who's not paying attention in class. And June wonders if she realized that he's lip-singing. And she asks who's the one making weird noises. Of course, it's not him because he didn't make noise in the first place. Nobody says anything. And then we hear a phone go off and she barks at the dude, telling him to turn it off. He apologizes and she asks why the school doesn't take away phones during class, then hears it again and asks who the hell was that. The other people wonder who it was as well, and June says somebody else got caught back to back, and that's pretty wild. But then he starts to sweat nervously, saying that he didn't hear anything at all though. The teacher then walks up to June's row and tells Suna that she thinks it's her and to take her phone out. Suna hands it to her, saying that her phone is off. She puts it up to her ear for a second, and it's silent, and she barks at her, saying that it's making noise and she can hear it. Asking what her name is, Suna starts to panic and begins full-blown crying, and Haein speaks up, saying that she can't hear anything. When the teacher turns, Haein tells her it's quiet and she heard incorrectly. The teacher says that she heard some sort of music, and she starts singing the 4 Inches song, saying that's what they're singing, asking if they don't hear it. And she can hear it even now. She says that she heard it was like this yesterday. She can hear it. She heard it all night. She heard it in the morning, even in the bathroom. She starts singing the lyrics, saying that it's in English and Spanish, English or Spanish. Anyways, she says that pop music these days is quite weird and wonders what kind of foreign language this is if it's all mixed up. Then she just sings in Korean, and it's weird that she can still hear it. She continues singing the chorus until she's digging into her own eardrum to the point it ruptures and bleeds everywhere. And she starts yapping the absolute hell, and I am not reading all of this, but she does sing the Blue Man part, so gotta give her credit. They head back to the club room a little after, and they start talking about how weird that teacher was. June says that he can't believe she crashed out over some song, and Jiyeon says that phenomenon is called an earworm. Certain songs, like Despacito, which were catchy, continue to be stuck in your head. June says it's happened to him too, and Jiyeon says that the current trending song, Oh Yeah, is much more severe. And there are even people who say that their daily lives are becoming unlivable because of it. June's confused, wondering if it's really that bad. Smo, speaking in Japanese, says he can't comprehend the taste of the normies. If they want to talk about addictiveness, it should definitely be some other band. June says that he's very sure that something is wrong. While Oh Yeah was popular in his past life, it wasn't this popular at all. And he's pretty sure the chorus was something much more normal. It wasn't these weird lyrics where he can't tell whether it's a foreign language or not. And something is off. He says the situation is suspicious, and if possible they should avoid listening to the song. He thinks that this time there's a big chance that the strange phenomenon is involved as well. Jiyeon asks if he means the same thing as last time by that, but Smo is just lost. We see on the main screen that he has a causality rate of 9 on the news. It's talking about the girl group Forensics and their song Oh Yeah, and that it's received a ban on all broadcasting. The reason provided by the government is that it was too addictive. Following this, the production company is claiming that was an outrageous reason at school. Demim says that since the music teacher is not feeling well, as they're resting at home, they'll be having self-study for a 3rd period instead. And then he closes the door. June says as he thought, the teacher didn't show up, and she may be receiving psychological treatment. From that day on, and for the next week, he was clear the situation was headed in a weird direction. His mother, who worked as a cashier, said that they still always played the same song on loop. There were people who would go around loudly saying Oh Yeah or straight up playing it aloud, and he's sure this has something to do with the ghost story. Everybody is sitting there doing their work. We see a guy growing more anxious by the second, and he starts trying to hold it back, then stands up screaming. He turns around, yelling for someone to cut the damn music off, saying that he can't study. Of course, the room is completely silent. They all just kind of stare at him. His friend asks what he's doing, telling him to sit down, and it's none other than Jang Hun, who we saw earlier, but the dude keeps barking, asking who keeps playing the music and to turn it off now. Jang Hun says he told him to sit down, and nobody has music playing. The intercom then cuts on, saying that the broadcast room would like to inform all students to listen closely, and they will now begin. And of course it's the song Oh Yeah, and it starts playing to the point that Bro's neck starts spinning and contorting, and he screams out. June is surprised, and both Haein and Suna realize this is bad. The guy grabs a pen off the desk and starts swinging it around, and we see his head is completely 180 like an owl, and he's screaming, telling them to cut that shit off, as it's worse than the KSI song. Smo says that he actually thought Thick of It was good, and June says hell no. He tells them this wasn't just one dude, they have to escape to the club room. He then sits up, yelling at John, Suna, and Haein to head to the club room immediately as they all start running to the door. June turns, realizing that he completely forgot Jinny, saying that they don't talk much, but she's still one of the members, so he should bring her too. He walks over to her while she's sleeping and calls out to her, saying that the situation is weird, so they should go to the club room. She starts to wake up and turns, saying that it's noisy as hell. June audibly gulps. On the first floor, we see students in the hallways. On the second floor, they're banging on what he believes is the broadcast room. And on the third floor, they're still going crazy. It's pretty much every single floor, the students are just playing this song, acting like the music teacher and the other guy in the room. Except for the fifth. June says it's a relief that she followed without a word, and John asks if the broadcast announcement isn't audible here on the fifth floor, and Haein says that has to be the case. Smo asks what the hell this is, and Suna tells him that everybody became so weird. June takes a deep breath and tells everybody that there's still some time left until the club activities period starts, and it's time for the activities for their club to begin. June says it's time to organize this and that everybody agrees the situation isn't normal. He believes that this was caused by the song Oh Yeah, and he believes that people who have heard the song repeatedly are having problems. Suna and John nod their heads, but Haein and the rest all kinda just sit there and stare at him. He says last week they agreed to not listen to that song if they could help it, and asks if there's anyone here who listened to it often during the last week. John says it came up often on the internet, but he never played it. Suna says in her case she didn't have a computer at home. Haein says she doesn't like popular music in the first place. Smo is cringe, but Jinhee speaks up, asking if he's talking about that shitty song that was coming out of the broadcast, and she hears it a lot while working at her part-time job. They all stare at her, and June wonders if his guess was incorrect or if there are differences depending on the individual. The music teacher was already weird a week before. Since she's a music teacher, she would be much more sensitive to music. Besides that, each person's sensitivity and mental state all differ. From what he can tell, Jinhee has a really indifferent attitude, and he asks if she happens to feel like her mind is going to a weird place or something feels wrong. She says no, and he tells her to think closely, asking if she wants to flip things over or if anything feels off. She says no, she doesn't feel that way at all. He asks if it may be because she's always in a state of anger like the Hulk, that she can't feel it. She asks what the hell he just said, and he's saying that she needs to ask herself if she has any feelings of wanting to suddenly beat up somebody in front of her. She closes her eyes and rears back her fist, saying that if he wants to get hit so badly, she'll do it. He says that he's sorry, and he won't do it again. Somebody starts screaming out down the hallway, which startles them, and he runs down, telling them this is urgent news. I'm not sure if this is Jang Hun or not. Brother's eyes are cooked. He says that the song is very gas. When he's looking through the club room, he doesn't see anything, and he says that he was sure the lights were on, and that's pretty unusual. He needs to make them hear this quickly. We see them all sitting there hiding. June sighs out of relief, and Jinhee asks why they even hid in the first place, as they just need to beat the dude up. Smo is cringe. June says that he's sorry, and he'll explain this later. For now, he thinks they should cover up the glass and asks if anybody has paper or something. Suna says that she has some, and it's because they ran away while she was prepping for fourth period. She pulls out a page of her notebook and puts it on the window, and June says that she tore a national history textbook without any hesitation and that the teacher is going to get angry. June also closes the curtains, saying they should draw them just in case they all sit down at the table. He says now then, he believes that the situation is actually very related to a ghost story. The people who experienced that incident may have already realized it, but they need to determine what sort of ghost story this is first. He asks John if there's anything that comes to mind. He mentions something called the worm ear before. John says he means earworm. It's not a ghost story, it's just a normal phenomenon. It occurs when an extremely catchy song gets stuck in your brain, causing you to continuously sing or hum it. At most, it can be annoying, but it isn't at the level of a ghost story. June says that's pretty iffy and asks if there's any ghost stories related to music. It doesn't have to be related to this incident specifically, And anything is fine. Suna speaks up, saying that they say there is a rumor that if a ghost is seen in the recording booth, that song is a guaranteed hit. John says that's something he's heard before too, that's why they say that the musicians who succeeded each have a story of seeing a ghost. He pulls out his phone, saying there's also something like this occasionally. There are cases where the ghost's voice is recorded in the album, and this is one of them, telling them to listen as the song starts playing. It sounds very normal until they hear a very eerie voice asking if their ears hurt. Suna covers hers and screams. June asks if this is really the official album. John says the record company's explanation was that it was actually the sound of the guitar, but it doesn't play the guitar, so it isn't over for sure. He says that's pretty interesting, and June says that he thought she would be difficult and hard to get close to, but she surprisingly goes with the flow. It's not like she went through the dream ghost story either. If she didn't make such fierce expressions, it would be better, or maybe her eyes are naturally fierce. She's got that resting. Never mind, June's understanding of her is now increased by 10. Smo is cringe. He says the story occurred when he went to see the movie editions of something, and he went to the theater. Turns out he's talking about an idol group, and after a bit of time passes of him yapping, he says that he was cheering, and suddenly some pair behind him was whispering that that isn't proper manners for a movie theater. Everybody else is low-key getting annoyed, and he finally says what we were all thinking, telling him to get to the point already, and that he talks way too damn much. Smo clears his throat, saying that he was trying to focus on the movie, but they were continuing to whisper to each other, interfering with his fangirling. He tried to be patient, but he couldn't take it anymore, so he turned to give them a scolding, when in the seat behind him was just a carbon copy of himself, and time and space did not recover from this. In reality, there was only one person behind him and not even two. He punches him in the face, saying that he was probably just talking to himself, and this damn bastard just wasted their time. She continues beating him while the rest look nervously, but they don't stop her because this is how it should be, and Heian is even laughing. Somebody then approaches the club room again, and they all turn worried and wait in silence, and they start knocking on the door, saying there's someone in there, asking if they can open the door. They're all surprised by this. June says even if they pretend they're not here, they're probably already caught as they were too caught up in the mood and made too much noise. He walks up to the door, asking who it is. It's Hoin, saying that it's her, the teacher. June realizes that it is her voice, and he does want to open the door for her, but on the off chance that she also became weird, he's a little hesitant. He hears her say closer, and he asks what she's talking about, saying he can't hear her. She tells him to bring his ear closer to the door, and when he does so, she starts to exhale right at the window, and it makes his ears tingle. He jolts away from the door, asking what that was, saying he's sure there was a pane of glass between them, but there was a sensitive feeling as if she had blown directly into his ear. He says something is suspicious, so he should try it again. She starts to breathe out again on the door, and Bro starts to blush, saying that it's just noise, yet for him to feel the wind so vividly, it's like a thought. A human's 5 senses are all interconnected. Just by realizing the other party is nearby, even if there's a sheet of glass between them, he starts yapping about how good it feels, and he asks what the hell he's doing. He says nothing while pulling his face away with a piece of paper stuck to it. He says the teacher is asking to come inside, so he's trying to see if she became weird. He then notices the paper stuck to his face, and the rest start to fall down too. He looks up to his side and is surprised, as all he sees is the back of her head. He then calls out to her because he's starting to feel anxious, asking why she's facing away. She's silent for a moment, and the entire room starts to grow anxious, with Suna and Jiyeon sweating nervously. June tells her to go away, as the club room is too crowded, so there is no room for her. She says it looks wide enough to her to let her in. He says there is no room, and she already knows that the club room is tiny. She says that isn't true and it looks wider than last time. He asks her how the club room would become wider, and she says it definitely did become wider. He yells, saying that she's too fat to come in here, and she asks what he means. They all stare at him in disbelief, asking if he really just said that shit to her, because that's top 3 things you can't say to a woman. Even Hoin sits there for a second, and June wonders what's going on. The atmosphere is pretty bad. He starts to wonder if maybe he hurt her feelings. She says she isn't fat, He realizes he definitely did, and there's something here that she's concerned about. His understanding of her has increased by 10. He says no, she is indeed fat, and she is too wide to fit in this room. He says they are filled to the capacity already because of Smuff, and tells her to look at how slim Hyun is, saying she needs to be at least this thin. He sits there panting after yelling his heart out, and the rest wait in anticipation. As Hoin says that he's capping, asking how could this be, and Shell come back after losing weight. The status window says that he has come across and survived the dranked ghost story, ghost-possessed person, and he has earned 5 points. He sighs out of relief and looks to the side, as everybody is glaring the hell out of him with distasteful eyes, and even Jin-hee is displeased, but June is confused, asking what's wrong bro is dense. June pulls out a seat, sits back down, and sighs. He thinks about the notification, wondering if the ghost story is connected to the one with the song in some way. Now that he thinks about it, Hoin seemed to have been possessed by a ghost before too. She did mention that she came from a shaman household, and it could be that her bodily constitution makes it so that she is easily possessed. His understanding of her has now increased by 20. Suna asks if he'll be okay. He says while he's a bit worried, it was a situation where all of them could have been put in danger. For now, they should stay hidden and try to gather more information. Jeon's doom scrolling on his phone, trying to check if I uploaded, and sees that the urgent news articles are all just the lyrics to this song. June asks if everybody tried contacting their family. Smo is cringe. The rest say they aren't picking up. He wonders what's going on and if this is some sort of hidden camera prank. June looks behind the curtain, saying he really wishes that were the case, but there's no way something like this could be scripted. It's a foolin' PUBG match outside. Some kids are just sitting there hitting the floor. Everybody's tweaking out their screaming, saying the music needs to be cut off. This one kid looks like his eyeballs are gouged out. Jin-hee says this shit is wild. Suna asks June what they can do here. Somebody then knocks on the door. They all turn in suspense as it's Hoyin. With the back of her head she says she's lost some weight, and they're all just confused, wondering what's going on. June sighs and tells her not to lie, asking how she lost weight within an hour. She says she didn't eat lunch. They all sit there in silence, and Suna says she is sorry for the teacher. Jeon says there's nothing they can do. If they let her in, and if she starts to go crazy or acts like the people outside, then it would be bad. But June says he wants to let her in. Right now, the situation is becoming worse and worse, and soon this spot might become dangerous too. If that's the case, trying to obtain information from Hoyin might be the only way out of this. Whether they question her or interrogate her, that's the only option they have. Jin-hee says he's crazy. June says that when the time comes, he'll leave it to her for some reason. He feels like she's really good at fighting. She is just wondering if she just got profiled or not. Then sighs, saying he's really crazy. June tells them he's going to open the door. They all nod in agreement. He slowly opens it as she walks into the room backwards, her eyes bloodshot. She starts singing the lyrics. June says as expected, this is how things end. He tells Jin-hee to go ahead and rock her shit. She wonders if maybe the teacher is tone deaf because she's not on key at all. She starts moving her feet, hitting a little jig while singing the song. June sits there confused. They then start laughing at her. Jeon says it's a relief she's tone deaf, and they can't even tell what song she's trying to sing, as it sounds so bad. June wonders what to do while we get some fan service, saying it's not like they can really slap her to make her stop. Then asks if anyone wants to try it, saying it might work. Haein steps up, raising her hand in the air, smacking the absolute piss out of Hoi-yeon, leaving her handprint on her face. She falls to the floor. A status window appears, saying that his club member has exerted great wit and instead repelled the ghost-possessed person, and he has earned 25 points. He receives a 10 bonus for each club member who contributed, so he gets an additional 15 points. But they're all just sitting there in silence, and June calls out to Haein. She regains herself and turns, asking him if that was good enough. Woman's. A bit later, we hear Hoi-yeon asking why she's here. She was certain she was in the teacher's lounge, and she wonders if she was dreaming or something because the headmaster and the deputy headmaster were stripping and performing handstands, and the dean was running around and singing. Also, her cheek hella hurts for some reason. Haein says she's just imagining it. Then Smo leans his head down onto the table, saying that he's hungry, asking why they have to stay in here and starve. Jin-hee kicks him, calling him an otaku bastard, asking why he's saying something useless and to read the room, asking if he's gonna die because he skipped one meal. As they keep bantering, Jinhee asks what kind of pig he is for being hungry in this situation. And on cue, Hoyeon's stomach starts to growl and she freezes up. Jinhee looks at her awkwardly, and the rest sit there in silence. June decides he needs to break it and says for now, they should look into a way to get some food here. Jiyeon says in order to get to the cafeteria, they need to pass this hallway. And they all know that on each floor, there is a hallway that connects the classrooms for the first, second, and third years to the cafeteria. By chance, their club room is on the corner. Instead of going around the long way, they could use the third floor hallway to move. The problem is, since the third floor has the third-year classrooms, there will be a lot of people, so it's going to be dangerous. Hoyeon suggests using the fourth floor, as the fourth floor of the cafeteria is the kitchen, and just like the first, second, and third floors, it is connected by a hallway. Of course, because it's a hallway they don't use. It has been closed up, but there is no lock and the door is made of wood, so they should be able to break it. June says that she probably hasn't understood the situation yet, but she's very proactive about getting something to eat. He says if it is the fourth floor, it's definitely worth trying over the third one. The path is shorter, and since the fourth floor is for distance learning, there aren't that many people, but since the cafeteria should also have the cooks, that's going to be dangerous. She says it should be fine, as the school broadcast can't be heard in the cafeteria. June thinks about it, saying that it actually might be safer than here. Also, there would be adequate food and water. Since the incident began before lunch, there shouldn't be any students there either. June then says that starting now, all of them will move together. They shouldn't let their guard down and should follow him carefully. They spot the wooden door and June says it's true. It just uses a bar to keep it open or closed, so they can just open it and enter. And there doesn't seem to be anyone in the hallway. Somebody then makes their way into the hallway right behind him on cue, and June says he's going to open the door, so be careful. He then freezes up as the dude behind him is staring a hole in the back of his head. He starts singing the lyrics while slowly zombie marching at him. June wonders if he came out of an empty classroom, and he should have checked more carefully, wondering what to do if he needs to punch him. He then cooks up an idea, stands his ground, and starts doing it back while slowly walking at the guy. He starts hitting the same little jig that Hoyeon was doing in the club room, low-key killing the shit. The rest are in disbelief that he's so talented. The other guy stares at him for a second, then nods, saying that he's also a man of culture, and he walks away, understanding that he just made a homie for life. June can't believe it actually worked and sighs. Jinhee laughs, asking what he was doing, saying that she thought he also turned weird. He says he just copied Hoyeon, though he didn't know if it would work or not, and it's time for them to get moving. As he moves the bar, they enter in. June says this is crazy as he's looking at a whole tray of stir-fried spicy pork. They say that shit looks gas. Jiyeon says that actually, that isn't stir-fried spicy pork but braised spicy pork, and he starts yapping. I ain't reading all that, Jin. He tells the emoji to just shut up and eat. In the nutritionist's office, we see June with a whole tray, and he says that this meal is way better than he thought. To think that he can eat like this in this situation. Sana asks if he's only eating meat. He says grass is meant to be eaten by cows, and I agree. Jiyeon starts typing on the laptop, telling June to look at this for a moment, saying it's a video of the concert and he put it on mute, so don't worry, the movement he copied from Hoyeon must be the dance for the song. June looks at it, saying that it's very similar, and he thinks the people in the schoolyard were making similar motions as well. He then thinks about it a little more and says no, this dance surely is the movement that the people who became weird make, but in reverse. As we watch a little more of the concert, it zooms into one of the girls' faces, which is the one we saw wake up a couple of nights ago. She's saying something, but it can't be made out. June's skill activates, which is lip reading, and it's her begging for someone to help her. June is surprised by this, saying that his lip reading just picks something up. Jiyeon asks him what he means by the movements in reverse, then if each part of the dance is done backwards. He says yes, before the people would swing their hands up in this motion, but the actual dance is swinging the hands down. June then turns the laptop, asking the rest what they think, and Sana says that she's not too sure. Jiyeon says that since June actually tried following the dance, he's sure that if he says so, then it's probably the case. Jinhee asks what he can know from that, and he says that he's not really sure and they should just eat instead for now. A bit of time later, we see them all taking that food coma nap, each sleeping in a different way, and I think Jinhee's is the best with the head on the table. But we see Haein something and June is typing away on the laptop and still thinking about it and how his lip reading is picking up on the video, and it's her asking if anybody notices this to please help her, and they have to because they're a fan. June wonders what it means, and he explains that her name is Soo Dam-seum, and she's the youngest member of the group. Like he thought she's trying to say something in the other videos as well, and she's asking for help, and he wonders how in the world he's meant to do that. Haein is actually awake as well, asking if he figured something out, and he says that he's not too sure and that if she wants to, she should sleep as well. She asks how she could do that when her student is still working hard, and he laughs nervously, saying that she's such a sincere teacher, and he's very sorry that he called her fat. He then looks at one of the videos, seeing the time and how it says that there was a video put up just this morning, and that it's from 7 hours ago, which means that it was recorded today as well. He clicks play on the video, and we see them all sitting down in chairs with Dam-seum staring at the camera. His lip reading activates again, her asking for help. June doesn't even know how to begin, saying that this is very frustrating. As he continues looking down at her lips, she says that she will be in the dressing room until the live concert, so please, somebody come and find her. June wonders where the dressing room is, wondering if it's the one in the broadcasting station. He starts typing furiously to figure out the location, and after a bit more searching, he smiles, saying he found it, telling everybody to wake up and asking if they can gather around. He starts explaining it to them, saying that he found some sort of clue. As he opens the laptop, he says he's sure all of them know that this unusual phenomenon is caused by the song performed by the girl group, for instance. There's one thing he needs to point out. He tells Jiyeon that one of the ghost stories involved people getting possessed, and he wonders if there's anything about them behaving backwards. He asks if that really has something to do with the situation, and June nods his head, saying most likely. When they eliminated the ghost story, the status window definitely said ghost-possessed person. If the reason the people became weird is because they were possessed by a ghost, then it makes a lot more sense. Jiyeon starts to think about it, saying there are some stories like this. One couple went to visit a shaman for a fortune-telling. The two paid their fee and sat in front of the shaman, and the shaman looked into the woman's fortune very sincerely, but for the man, she was very negligent. In fact, she even said that she would not take any money from them and return the fortune-telling fee. The couple found this all to be uncomfortable, grumbling to themselves about how such a shaman could exist. However, they had no reason to start a fight, and they headed home, but on the way back, the man died in an accident after the funeral. Even in her grief, the woman went back to the shaman. Again, this symbol does not mean what you think it is manji, a symbol in Buddhism. She was reminded of the shaman's unusual behavior, and as soon as she entered, the shaman asked her if she finished holding the funeral. The shaman already knew that the man would die. She returned the fee as payment for the ferry to the afterlife. As for how the shaman knew about it, the shaman said that she saw people who would soon become ghosts in a different way when the two first entered the place. The man walked in doing a handstand, and his eyes were completely gone. Just like what we see now, the room is silent. Jiyeon says besides this, there are many stories about ghosts behaving backwards, things like running around on their hands or clapping with the back of their hands. Hoyeon says that now that she thinks about it, some of the teachers were doing handstands back at the teacher's lounge. She did mention this earlier. Smo says there were some in the classroom too. The first guy who went crazy swung the pencil behind him instead of in front. June asks about the other people, and they say there are also those who behave normally but go around spreading the song. And it is weird that there are some exceptions to this. Jin-hee says that maybe it's in the song. They all look at her, surprised that she spoke up about this, and she says the lyrics to the song are weird as hell. They are all surprised. Realizing that she's right, June wonders if the song lyrics may be backwards. He looks up the lyrics, saying if they flip it back, they might discover the original meaning, and he presses play. Of course, when he types the lyrics, he flips them, and it means literally nothing once more, and he's completely confused now. He says he doesn't think this means anything. Maybe their guess was incorrect. Jiyeon says he doesn't think that's it. There's a method called blackmasking that involves a message being recorded backwards onto a track that is meant to be played forward. Playing the song in reverse is completely different from flipping the spelling of lyrics itself. They put the lyrics of the hook into its phonetically matching romanization and then reverse each letter. It still is not going to mean literally anything at all to most people because it's in Korean. And June says he's not too sure about this, and it's really uncomfortable to read in this form. Jiyeon says they need to divide the syllables and differentiate them, putting a slash between each. He does so, and June starts looking at it, and it pretty much says, "I am buried under the third waiting room." June wonders what it could possibly mean, while Smo and the rest of them are all just surprised at the fact that it actually did hold a meaning. Jiyeon starts to think about it, saying that this is the real message that's hidden within the song. That means that it has something to do with the ghost story too. June is certain now that they're almost all the way there, but wonders what sort of ghost story this is related to. Smo speaks up. Even though he is cringe, I will allow him to speak. He says that there is something that he thought of, asking if anybody knows about Sadako. June says he thinks he's heard of it before, then realizes it is the ghost girl that comes out of the movie The Ring. Smash, and she's the one that crawls out of the well. Smo says that's right, and since there may be people who have not seen the movie before, he wants to briefly explain the plot. It's about a ghost-possessed video that makes people who see it die. As the people who watch the video spread it further, the video spreads like a plague. June thinks about it, saying that if they swapped video for song, it is very similar. Smo says that's exactly it. People ask how it ends, and Smo says that actually, the well in the video had the corpse of Sadako inside of it. He remembers the ending to be that the situation gets resolved when they go to the actual site of the well and retrieve the corpse. June says that means they need to do the same, and Jen says they have to find the corpse buried under the third waiting room. But it's not as if there are only 1 or 2 third waiting rooms throughout Korea, and they don't even know where they should go. June says they can just ask them in person, and he knows exactly where they'll be. He's talking about the group, as they are at the GSBC Broadcasting Center, and now they're going to go on a boss raid. As they head out, he double-checks that they've all prepared something that could be used as a weapon. Haein has a knife. Suna has a cafeteria tray. Orkshop has a giant ladle. Of course, Jen has Febreze. Hoin has a stick, and Jean he has a shovel. June says before they go, there's something he needs to point out. Only people who can accept this point need to come. He closes his eyes, readying himself, saying that he has the ability to turn back time. Everyone seems to have different reactions to it, mostly the glasses boys that are surprised while the rest wonder if he's schizo. Everybody just sits there in silence, and he says he knows he sounds crazy, but it is the truth. Suna, Haein, and Jian have all experienced it before. The phenomena they went through in the dream within dreams were where they went back in time when they died. That's the ability he has, and it's not like he's planning on solving the situation immediately. After discovering the truth of this case, he's going to find the solution and return to the past. That way, he can solve this case before the shit show happens. Jen says it's hard to believe he can turn back time. June says he's sorry, but he doesn't have time to wait for them to understand. They should just remember one thing. If anyone lags behind, they have to leave them. If anyone blocks their way, they have to use violence to get through, and even if someone is to die, they will only focus on getting to their destination for now. They should think about getting only to the broadcasting station. As they head out, it's the man of culture from before says to look at this, only to get hit in the face by June, knocking the phone out of his hands. The man falls to the floor. As the phone continues playing the music, June breaks it, saying surely they see that they can't hesitate. The more they delay, the more dangerous it'll be. Jean he says he's pretty tough, and Smo asks if he actually has to fight. A horde of the fanboys start running in at them, some backwards, yelling either the lyrics or to turn off the music. June readies himself, telling the rest they have to fight, and they're gonna push to the parking lot. They start fighting against the zombie apocalypse, each of them doing their best effort. I think Haein will kill someone. Jiyeon is spraying their eyes. June is hitting them in the chest. Hoyeon looks a bit gassed out and turns, seeing one of the teachers telling her to listen to this song. If she knows the trends like this, even she can get married. Hoyeon closes her eyes out of fear, and June hits him in the side, making him drop his phone, which surprises her. He tells her they should hurry to the parking lot, and they'll take care of things here. It jumps to the GSBC tower, and we see the dressing room, and the girls of the group are wondering about their calls and what they have to do because even their manager is not responding and they don't know how it came to this. Dam-sam looks very worried about the situation. We see a car door slamming as Hoyeon has finally made it inside. Another teacher, the music one I think, starts banging on the door saying that they should go listen to the song together. But it's not just her, as even more students start banging on her windows saying that she needs to listen to this new song. And they're full-on crowding her entire car. She wonders what to do, saying no matter what she can't just run all of these people over. Some bros also hitting a devious handstand out front. She thinks about it. Min looks at June and the rest all fighting off their groups. Smo hits him with a belly blaster 2000. And Hoyeon tells her to get her shit together as the kids are out there fighting and the responsibilities of an adult are something that she needs to fulfill. She full-on slams the gas, deciding that everybody in front of her is just another part of her responsibility as she runs them over. She starts zigzagging around, and people are surprised, asking what the hell the teacher is doing. As she finally pulls up, she comes to a complete stop in front of them, and June and the rest are surprised as she's using her windshield wipers to wipe away blood. She then rolls down her window saying that they need to hurry up and get in. She starts driving off again, and it's low-key a little crowded. Then June is sitting on top of Suna's lap saying that they'll swap later. June asks Smo how's the navigation, and he says that he's busy looking right now, but the service is really slow. June says that for now they need to deal with the first hurdle, which is the front gate. Since the incident occurred before lunchtime, the gate will be locked. In order to get the gates open, they may have to leave someone behind. Jin-hee asks if he's serious, and he says there's nothing they can do. June then notices something as the security guard walks up to the gate and he starts undoing the lock, opening it for them. June's surprised, and so is Jin-hee, and they have no idea why he would do this. June says that last time the security guard was guarding it so earnestly, yet this time he's opening it up so they can leave. The students come back out asking where they were going, saying they need to listen with them. Of course, Allhoin sees it as red, so she runs their asses over, and one of the dudes asks if anybody caught the license plate. She then hits a sick drift, swerving out of the gate onto the main road. Turns out that it wasn't just the school, but the entire city looks to be going crazy. So she screams as she's all gas, no brakes, driving through them. June asks if she's going the right way. She tells them not to worry and just leave it to her as she continues performing hit and run after hit and run. June says they're screwed as she is no longer in the right state of mind. She is 34 years old and she's at the age where brakes don't exist, and she's having the time of her life. When else would she get the chance to run people over like this without consequence? Haein seems to be enjoying every minute of it, saying that she's so funny. June says she's also a psycho as we see the victims on the floor behind. They finally come to a stop and the car is so screwed up and everybody is gassed out and sweating nervously. Wondering if it's finally calm, Suna is shaking in fear, and Jin-hee says that there's something wrong with him as he's completely out cold, and we see Jiho and Seol leave his body ripped. Jin-hee asks what to do and if they're gonna leave him like he said before. He says that for someone like Jiho, and it's worth bringing him even if they carry him. Since they aren't yet certain what sort of ghost or where they're facing, they need his knowledge. We see the elevator is still operational and it's on the first floor. As it starts to distort, it remains time for some kind of elevator ghost story. June sighs out of relief, saying they finally made it to the broadcasting station. But this is where it truly begins. He asks Smo if he can help him carry Jiho, and Smo says he's got this. Hoin says that she doesn't think she can go with them because her entire body is shaking really badly. June realizes this isn't good and asks the rest if they are okay to go. Haein and Suna nod their heads, and so does Jin-hee. Poor Jiho. June thinks about it, saying it's about time to leave, and tells them it's time to head in. As soon as they get out of the car, they make their way towards the main lobby, as they see two women walking backwards towards them, welcoming them to the broadcasting station. June says that he can't believe they're already here. Jin-hee starts using Ultra Instinct, running directly forward towards them. She rears back her fist, hitting one of the girls with a right, and that is all she wrote. Good night. She then turns towards the other lady, raising her leg into the air, hitting her with a kick straight to the dome. They both fall to the floor unconscious, and Jin-hee sits there exhaling after bodying them. June and the rest are just surprised that she's actually about that life. Some man then tells everybody that it's dangerous, and to back away he pulls up his phone, which has the song on it, saying that not listening to the song is dangerous. Bro is committed. He then starts running towards Jin-hee, who puts up her guard as he tackles her full-blown to the ground. He lands on top of her. June and the rest are surprised, and they all start running over towards the guy, straight jumping his shit, saying that he needs to let go of Jin. The dude tells her that she must listen to the song, and they realize that he's not budging at all. She calls him an idiot, saying that's enough and just to get out of here. June hesitates for a second, but decides that she's right and tells them all they have to go. They get into the elevator and we see them gassed out. The elevator is beeping. They look up, and it tells them that it's over capacity. Of course, it's only because Smo is on board. Smo says that there's only 5 people, wondering if the elevator is broken, and June asks what to do and if they have to split into teams. Haein thinks about it for a second, then steps off the elevator looking at them all. June asks what she's doing, and she smiles, saying that she'll see him later, and the door closes as it starts to ascend. As it starts to ascend, Smo says that he can't believe she stayed behind too. June says he can't either, but he is staring intently at the floor level, saying that there's something about this that's weird, wondering where exactly it's headed to. He asks if anybody pressed the button, and June and Suna both say they did not. June says he's pretty sure he felt it moving up, but something is off and he starts to sweat nervously, saying that it's more difficult to breathe. They see that multiple buttons are now pressed on their own, as they're starting to lose oxygen with every passing second. It reaches the 44th floor, and they're low-key on the verge of passing out. June says he can't breathe, and he was almost there. Hoin, Jinhee, and Haein all sacrificed themselves to come this far, and he wonders if this is where they're gonna fail miserably. Smo is low-key dying, but so is Suna, it looks like. She then starts to stand up, and June calls out her name. She says, "Steal," and then walks over to Smo and says, "Belongs." They are both confused, and then she starts putting her hands on his throat, choking him, saying that he should stop stealing the oxygen that belongs to June. She continues screaming that he shouldn't steal the oxygen that belongs to June. As Smo starts to lose consciousness, June looks up, confused, wondering what the hell is going on and why she is choking him, and he doesn't know what's what anymore. His hands start to shake as his vision goes blurry. He reaches up, saying he just needs to open the door. If they leave things as they are, they will all die of asphyxiation. He starts banging on the door, saying it needs to open, and he puts his hands in between the cracks, forcibly trying to open it. We see John open his eyes as he jolts awake, wondering what's going on, saying that he's sure he was in the car. He then realizes that he can't really breathe, and June says they're stuck in the elevator right now, and if this continues, they will all die from the lack of oxygen. John asks if it's because they were stuck in the elevator, saying there's no way that would be the case, as elevators being airtight is a myth. Not a single elevator in a modern city should be airtight, and they're structurally designed so the airflow is guaranteed. June is surprised, and he has come across and survived the crank ghost story elevator asphyxiation hoax and earned 10 points. The floor distorts, and they're now back to level 3, and the door opens in front of them. June looks out, confused, wondering if it was really that simple. John says that it's a mistaken assumption ghost story, like how someone trapped in an unplugged freezer will die. June sighs, saying they survived thanks to him, but about Smuff, he is completely knocked out. John says that's probably the case, as he isn't even opening his eyes after they dragged him all the way here. Suna looks down at her murder victim, realizing that it's all her fault. June asks what to do, saying he doesn't think any of them can carry him around. John says they have no choice but to leave him behind, as he is an unmovable object, and that it seems like this side is quite silent, so he'll probably make it out. June says he agrees, but that doesn't mean they can let down their guard, and for now they should head out. As they start walking down the hallway, John says there should be a map of each floor somewhere, and they need to find the before that the group was in the dressing room, but June is anxious, saying that something is off. Until now, he's only encountered one ghost story at a time, and once that ghost story was handled, the next one would appear. But now, even within this ghost-possessed song ghost story, they've encountered 2 dranked ones as well. And the elevator one, it's almost as if something is intentionally attacking them. Suna calls out to them and points to their side, saying that this is the dressing room. June sweats nervously, saying that they should try to open it. But of course, the door doesn't budge, and he says that that is not going to work at all. He then hears some women inside saying that someone's here, wondering what to do. June says that there are people in there, and John says that has to be the group. June knocks on the door, asking if someone's in there, telling them to open the door. They ask who he is, and he says they're students from a nearby school, telling them the school's name. They ask why a student is here, and he says that it's about the music program that's supposed to record tonight, and he heard that the stage for that was here. They ask if he came to see the stage, and he says yes. They then tell him to prove it, and he's surprised. They tell him to prove whether he's in the right state of mind or not. June says that he doesn't know how he's meant to do that, and Suna then says that they know that they're the girl group, saying that they came to save them. The girl group is silent and starts to panic, saying that they know who they are and they're here to save them, but they're also hesitant that they might be crazy. They then unlock the door and slowly open it, and one of the women tells them to enter. She looks really nervous as June and the rest all walk in. we see them standing there, each holding on to a different thing that they could use as a weapon. June and his group also look just as nervous as they do, and this was the first meeting between the Ghost Story Club and the idol group, and everybody low-key looks very tense about the situation. June explains that this was the start of their very constant relationship. June spots none other than Damseum, the one he saw in the video. He tells them they're not gonna hurt them and to calm down, asking if they're all the members who sang Oh Yeah. They nod their heads yes, and he says they all know the current situation is because of the song. One of the women says that may be the case, but she thought that he came here to save them. He says right now there isn't a safe place in Korea, and they came here to find the root of the issue and solve it. They ask who he is to even be trying, and he ignores her, asking who the leader is. She asks if he really came here without knowing that, and one of the ladies says it's her. Although she's not sure what sort of detective play he's doing, she'll answer his questions to the best of her knowledge. June asks if she knows anything about the situation, and she says she doesn't. All they did was receive the new song from their agency and work their hardest in their activities. June asks if there's anything that comes to mind, and she says she already told him, and they're honestly in a state of panic. June says she's saying that the group themselves aren't the culprits, and he asks about the lyricist and composer. The leader says that it was made by a famous lyricist and a famous composer chosen by the company. They met them a couple of times during the recording process, and they were not weird people. June asks how she's sure, and the leader starts thinking about it, saying that they were the very first people to go insane. The composer committed suicide by stabbing out his screwdriver. They said he complained about the music not stopping. The lyricist kept writing the lyrics backwards until his fingers began bleeding. After he was discovered by his family members, he was sent to a mental hospital. They look worried that it was that deep. The leader says their manager went crazy this morning. They began to kneel and caused a ruckus, begging them to stop singing the song before security took them away. June asks if they don't find something off about this. These girls are the only ones that have had the most contact with the song. In fact, they are the ones who have personally sung it, so why are they completely fine? The leader asks how she's meant to know, saying it may be that them acting normally makes the spreading of the song more effective. June is surprised, saying that certainly does make sense. The leader says that he is asking questions one-sidedly, and they have things they're curious about too. She asks how he knew where they were and how to come all the way here. He thinks about it and pulls out his phone, showing them, saying it was after seeing this video uploaded this morning, and he saw the youngest member mouth it. Here she starts to blush at the fact that somebody recognized it. The leader asks Damsem if it's true. Damsem says that she thought that someone watching would notice, and she truly believes if it was one of her fans, at least one person would come. The leader calls her crazy, asking if she was waiting for a Prince Charming, and says for now they understand, and if he has anything more he's curious about, to ask. June then wonders if they know that if they played the hook portion of their song in reverse, there is a hidden message. They all seem surprised by it, and he asks if the lyrics are something the lyricist wrote himself. They say it's a little more complicated, as he didn't technically come up with it himself in this broadcasting station. There's a weird rumor if you're walking alone, you can hear the mumblings of a girl, and one day the lyricist came to hear it and he liked how it seemed to oddly fit, so he wrote it as the hook. She says that's just what she heard from someone else. June wonders if it could be that the place where the girl appears is the third waiting room. The leader is surprised, asking how he knew that, and June looks at Jiyeon, confirming that their suspicions were correct. June asks if they could guide him there. The leader says no, as it's too dangerous because the third waiting room is on the 5th floor, and the floor is packed full of singers who are on standby for the broadcast, and everybody there will be singing their song. June says this means they've subjugated the entire music industry, and the leader asks if there's something weird in the third waiting room. He wonders how to explain it, but the leader continues, saying regardless, they can't go with him and they will remain hiding here and wait for the military or rescue squad, and she needs to prioritize the safety of her members. Of course, June is a leader who already sacrificed 4 of his. While this is probably the norm, after all, they can't turn back time the way he can. However, in an abnormal situation, a normal method will not work. He wonders if there's no way to convince them to join, and that's a waste to give up on 5 people who could be cannon fodder. He then thinks about something and looks up at Damsim, who's mouthing to him once more. His ability activates, asking if he did not notice it yet, saying that he is a fan. He wonders what she's trying to say, and she asks again if he did not notice that the name is Forensis. The leader asks what's wrong and why he's staring at Damsim so intensely, and if it's because she's that pretty. He says that she's actually incredibly beautiful, and she starts to blush. Jiyeon asks if he's okay, and Sana is giving him some serious Yandere eyes. The leader asks why he doesn't guard their room from outside and see if anybody comes in, like a knight protecting the princess. He says that's a great idea. Sana is going to murder him, but it isn't to see if someone is coming in, it's to see if anyone tries to leave. The leader asks what he means, and he tells Sana to guard the entrance so that no one can leave. She nods her head, saying okay, and she walks over, being the champ she is. She pulls out a box cutter and says that if they come close, she'll kill them. June stares at her, confused, and has no idea what the hell she is doing. June says now that he thinks about it, even within the dream world, she was carrying a box cutter, and he wonders why Jiyeon goes to tell June that it's a bit odd, and he tells him not to, that he doesn't notice, as he's doing his best to ignore it as well. He then clears his throat, saying that from now on, nobody is allowed to leave, and they need to cooperate with him for this moment. The leader calls him crazy, saying he finally showed his true colors, and now he's gonna try to do something lewd to the entire group, calling him a sick, perverted freak. June is shocked and wonders if that's really how she sees him. Asking what the hell she is yapping about, he brings up the ghost story about how if there is a ghost in the recording booth, the song is a guaranteed hit. He says that this is apparently a pretty common story. Asking if they've heard it too, the leader says that is indeed a pretty famous story. June asks if she can just put down the scissors while they speak. He also asks what would happen if someone were to write the ramblings of a ghost as lyrics. She asks if he's talking about them. She says that right now, with the entirety of Korea obsessed with their song, you could say it's unbelievably successful. June says that if it makes sense, it's just that instead of witnessing a ghost has been going around singing with them all. She asks what he means, and he says among all of them, one of them is a ghost. The leader starts to feel annoyed and tells everyone to ready their weapons because, just as she thought before, this guy is a complete nut job. June tells them he already told her to put her weapons down, asking if she doesn't understand. She asks what he's talking about, and Jiyeon asks how many members are in the girl group for a minute. Jiyeon says there's probably 4. June then asks about from is 9. He says there's probably 9, and this continues on and on. Then June asks about their group. For instance, Jiyeon is surprised and says for sure, although they can't say it's an absolute. The number of members in a group tends to be the same as the number in the group's name. The leader asks why it matters, saying even though there are 5 of them, they don't know why one of them would have to be a ghost. That feels a bit too forced. Have they not practiced and worked together for over a month? She knows every one of their names, and they remember her too. June says that they must have just snuck in longer than a month ago. She asks what he would even know in the first place, as members increasing and decreasing is common in this business. June says he's never heard of a newly formed group having member changes, and from what he understands, they just debuted. The leader looks down, realizing he's right. Damsom says that originally, there were 4 members from a certain point. She began to think something was wrong, wondering why there was one more person, and she thought it was very weird, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember who was the one that snuck in and who were the original members. That's why she kept asking for someone to notice, and their popularity kept rising, and their activities kept increasing. But the thought of someone who isn't a member living here secretly was so scary. And that is why she mouthed that. The leader says even if that's the case, the 5 of them have pulled off their entire schedule together for a month, and all this time, one of them has been suspicious, asking how he's going to find out which one of them is a ghost. He says this is definitely an issue, and unless they spend long periods of time together, it will be hard to tell. He then thinks about it, asking if they know that when ghosts do things, they behave in reverse of living people. Therefore, starting now, they'll try and use that to figure it out. However, since they've been unable to notice anything suspicious, they need to do non-daily activities. The leader asks what he means by non-daily activities, and he says something like squats or spinning in place before trying to walk. Things like that would be the most ideal. Also, such as doing a handstand. The leader starts to get annoyed, saying that she can't believe he's telling them to do something like that, and he's just telling them to do whatever without having a clue. He asks if she's really talking back, and she says that she is. He laughs, saying that she must be the one doing it because she's the ghost. No wonder she's been so noisy, asking if her tongue is unnaturally long. She yells, saying that she knew he was trying to do things to them. He gets annoyed, telling her to stop with the bullshit, calling her crazy. She starts to feel offended by that, and she grabs onto his hair, and he grabs onto hers. They start pulling on it, and he says that like he thought she's the ghost and he's got her now. She calls him a crazy bastard. Jian tells him to stop it. Even Damsim tries to get the leader to stop, and Suna just stands there anxiously while June and the leader butt heads with one another, yelling. A moment later, we see her shaking, saying it's just as she thought, and she knew that this would happen, calling him a pervert. Sometime later, we hear June panting, saying he wants to end this here, and nothing good will come out of it. The leader agrees, calling him a perverted bastard once more. June asks if she's ready to cooperate, and she says there's no other way. However, if he tries to do something promiscuous, she'll murder him. He asks why she keeps yapping at him and sighs, telling everybody to gather up since they're done here. They're gonna start immediately. As we see the leader's hair all over the floor. Jian explains how the ghost people do things backwards, such as clapping behind their hands. June tells everybody to clap together, and all of the girls start doing it in unison while looking around nervously. Everybody seems to be doing it normally, and June looks for anything weird. The second up is squats, and they all start doing it, and again it's normal with every single one of them squatting without having to do it in reverse. June then points at one of them, asking why she is standing when everyone else is sitting, and it's none other than the leader. She says that she was just a bit delayed, calling him dumb. The third one is tongue twisters, and we see the girls do that fine. Then it's spinning in circles, which was okay, and then he wants them to sing the national anthem backwards. The leader asks if he's crazy, wondering why he doesn't try the shit himself. She says they've done enough and that was more than adequate. Suna and Jian look down at June, who still thinks about it, saying like he thought they needed to do a handstand. The leader is surprised and starts to get pissed, saying as expected, she knew it would end like this, calling him a perverted freak while looking embarrassed. He asks what the hell was the big deal with handstands and why she's so defensive. She asks if she really is meant to believe all of these suspicious ideas, and when he's asking them, who are wearing skirts, to do handstands, he sighs, saying he's sorry, this is the last thing, and just cooperate with it. If nothing happens, she can beat him to death. Damsam says it's okay since they are all wearing shorts underneath, and they can just do it one time. The leader looks at her and starts to clench her fist out of anger, saying fine, but if nothing happens, she's gonna beat the hell out of him before chasing him out. June nods in agreement, and Damsam asks if it's okay to do it while leaning against the wall, saying she'll go first. She puts her hands on the floor, kicking herself upwards until she comes to a complete standstill with her skirt toppling down, revealing her shorts, and she asks if this is fine. June says that's okay, and there's nothing unusual. She then comes back down, asking who's gonna go next. The short-haired girl looks anxious and says she'll do it next, and she puts her hands on the wall doing the same thing, but she's already wearing shorts so it doesn't really matter. June says that's enough and she can come down, and she does so. Then he tells the leader she should be the one doing it, and we see her shaking with anger. He says it's like he thought she was the ghost all along. Even though she's wearing shorts underneath, whenever he mentions a handstand she goes crazy, and he knew she was suspicious because she's uncooperative at every turn. She tells him that's not the case and he shouldn't say things when he doesn't even know what's going on. He then asks what she's stalling for, and to prove her innocence she hesitates, and we see her blushing a little bit, saying to take a good look, and if he takes back his words she will kill him. She puts her hands on the floor and kicks up as we see her skirt starting to fall down. There's a bright light, and June is surprised, as if he was on a snowy mountain looking at a little bunny that stared back at him in a pure white snowfield. There was a single bunny running around, and that was, of course, because she is not wearing shorts, and her panties are now exposed. June says that a single bunny placed on a white field may not seem like something crazy, but, and although her panties aren't something created by the blood, sweat, and tears of an artisan, the fact that he made tidy stitching gives the white bunny an extreme presence. He looks up, seeing the panties floating in the galaxy above him, saying that now he can die happily. If you've watched till the end, comment Raccoon to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this. Leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.